Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to the Owl Light Society. We're going to do a campfire type storytelling experience for y'all, and hopefully we're gonna have some fun doing it. I'm Delphine, y'all know me. Over there, my co-host Raz, everybody knows.
Howdy-ho.
And joining us tonight, we have James, who's been here once before.
Hello.
And probably be having him on some more again. They know all about us. James, do you want to give a little intro? What you do?
Right now, as it says kind of down here, there we go. And I am a writer, a blogger, and a podcaster. The podcast is the Movies and Beer podcast we do out of Sean O'Casey's pub in Omaha, Nebraska. And today I just posted the new one that we did for the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie that we watched last night.
This is good.
All I'm going to say is, if you thought the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie got you in the feels, this one will do so times 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So go sit with Mom when she watches that one, so that she doesn't have to be sad alone.
Have yourself a big box of tissues, whatever comfort food you may need. But this one did that particular series proud.
Okay.
So,
I watched a movie that blew my fucking mind last night. It was Renfield.
that was a great one too.
Oh, I don't know why everyone hates it and it's being panned so hard. I think it's one of the most brilliant things that Universal has done in a very long time.
Yes, it was a continuation of the original 1933 version.
Yep.
And they just kind of worked off that. This is a horror comedy that is really big on the core, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And Dracula wasn't even the central character. It was Renfield.
I love Nicholas Hoult, so
yeah.
I'm willing to watch it. I'm putting aside my hatred for Nick Cage.
I got a question for you. Do you like Bela Lugosi?
Yes.
Because he did the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the look, the feel, the original fonts. I mean, holy fuck. I shed a tear when I saw that before the movie even started, seeing that stuff and seeing like what they were doing. I was just like, holy fuck, they get it.
Yeah.
They're getting it.
I was impressed.
I also really love Dracula Untold. I really love Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and I don't give a shit who didn't like it. I thought it was great for what it was meant to be.
It was decent, but you'll never surpass Brendan Fraser.
Impossible to do. Impossible. Hands down impossible.
Fraser.
And I also very much also enjoyed the Invisible Man. I think the modern.
I did too.
I don't know why the Monsters universe failed. I don't know why they're putting the pin in it. They've created some great shit. They need to listen to their hearts because they're doing some great shit with it and stop worrying so much about people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Hey guys.
See, the Blumhouse Invisible Man that they did, fantastic. Everybody else was just, no, I don't want to watch it. I only watch good movies. Screw you guys. This was a fantastic movie. There was some genuine just tension and just this. There were some jump scares that really worked, like when she threw the paint down the ladder.
Oh, God, yes.
God. And the science behind it actually works. This is a good theory. His suit was fantastic, but the whole thing was just about it. It's a trigger warning because this whole thing is about, toxic relationships and everything. So it'll get people talking.
It felt like they started with the core material of Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon, and then like adjacent to that, but way fucking farther, like mentally. Like it was just fucking.
I remember seeing the Hollow Man in the theater.
Yeah, and also a little bit of the Chevy Chase Invisible Man from back in the day, the memoirs of it.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of that in there too, a little bit with the drug use and some of the weird fucking things that Chevy did in that one.
Yeah.
I had fun with you might have both read the Invisible Man story that I did when they were doing a Universal Pictures book anthology. And started off with my Bride of Frankenstein. They're like, we've had over 250 people submit Bride of Frankenstein stories, so please stop. So it was like, okay, I'll switch to the Invisible Man. But that movie had inspired, like, I used it more of the original formula behind it, but then I stole some of the tech ideas from it. Wasn't, I didn't just yank them. I used them to research what there has been studied in with that. But yeah, you're right. The science is amazing with what they did there. It absolutely does work.
My monster is definitely Creature. Creature from the Black Lagoon is hands down always been, I don't know why, just my favorite. Part of that is because it was a Thursday night many years ago, 1982, on September 9th. My mother was giving birth to me, and on a black and white TV in the delivery room, that's what she was watching the entire time she was giving birth to me. And it was also the first horror movie she showed me as a child. I didn't find out until I was in my teens that that's what she was watching when I was giving birth. Or when she was giving birth. I didn't know about that story until my teens. So, like, I'd already developed this love for Creature, and then she tells me about it, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I get it now.
He was my daddy, the first thing I saw.
He gets the least love of all the monsters, and I think that's bullshit. We just haven't had a really good Creature movie in an eternity.
What was that Del Toro one that he did? The Sound of Water?
Oh, fuck. I know which one you're talking about.
As I like to call it, Grinding Nemo. Because, holy crap.
Shape of Water.
Okay.
I've not seen that one.
It was beautifully done, and it was. He did admit later it was Creature adjacent.
Yes, it was a really good movie. Any movie that starts with a masturbation scene, I guess. I don't know. It's just one of those things. But yeah, it's like, what if you kidnapped the creature from the Black Lagoon and kept him in your bathtub during the '60s? And
so that
you watch this movie and find out.
Oh, yeah. I just want to. So that's the general story of how we got a Jason.
You know, I read somewhere that the theory was that Jason Voorhees is like a Deadite.
Okay, I know the entire story behind this.
Okay.
That kind of started. Actually, I'm looking up his name because I want to be like super accurate. I know it, but I want to make sure I have the correct last name because you guys know I'm a fucking stoner and my brain doesn't work sometimes. I talked to this man extensively on a series of podcasts and got him to admit a lot of things on top of this. It was the director of Jason Goes to Hell.
Yes.
Adam Marcus. Okay. Adam Marcus is an awesome man. He was a big fan of the Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash comics, where they, of course, first introduced in the comic world that Jason is a Deadite. He loved this so much, he wanted to completely make it the case in the whole franchise against the wishes of some other people. He fully admitted that movie specifically is the beginning of that being a part of the universe too. He showed that in the way the spirit of Jason, much like the evil presence that creates Deadites, flowed from person to person to possess people to become Jason.
Yeah.
Even though they looked like themselves, they were still Jason. So he used that movie as this big central point. Now, during all this, I also got him to mention that because Jason is a water-based creature or a water-based existence by the lake, that he's also a kaiju. He admitted hundreds of thousands of people that he was a kaiju now because I said it. So he's like, yeah, we're going to go with that. So now he's not only a Deadite, but he's a kaiju.
Well, when you use the Necronomicon to raise your dead son.
Yep. That tends to happen. I mean, speaking of, I love the new Evil Dead also. Love it.
I've been hearing great things about it. I'm still trying to find somebody who will go with me to the theater.
Oh, man. I wish I lived closer to you, dude, because I'd be watching every fucking one of these movies. Everything that you go see, I would be right next to you at the theater.
Yay! Because that was like right up my alley, but all my friends, as they got older, were just, life's too short to be seeing this crap. And I'm like, stop calling it crap.
Fuck that.
Right.
That's really good.
That's what gives my sad little life meaning some days, is going out there and getting out of my life and
enjoying
it for like 90 minutes. Like, that's
it's you know, my best friend who for decades we would like sit and watch like Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, my favorite one, by the way, then Army of Darkness,
and then
just
the
geek out.
game was the next installment in the actual film franchise.
Yeah.
First game was the next movie.
Yes.
First game.
Fistful of Boomstick, I believe it was.
Nope. Hail to the King.
Hail to the King. Okay.
Hail to the King was the only one that's actually 100% canon.
Okay.
Takes place the moment he gets back from Army of Darkness, and it continues the story. And then they did other shit that's not canon. And then they did the 2013.
The Ash versus Evil Dead. Ash versus.
Yeah, they did
Evil
Ash
Dead.
vs. Evil Dead, but while between Hail to the King and Ash vs. Evil Dead, the 2013 one happened. The remake that wasn't the remake, because Ash is actually in it at the end.
Okay, yeah, that
That
Ash is actually kind of sort of at the end.
Place in this simultaneous moment. It's the moment where Ash is falling asleep in the cave to be transported back to our world. Something happens, and you find out in Hail to the King that his car somehow gets fixed and transported back with him, which is also one of the alternate endings from Army of Darkness, because he puts his car back together in the alternate ending. So his car is back before he does, which is why his car is in the driveway the entire fucking time at that cabin in 2013. And at the very end, if you look how he's there with like the darkness behind him, that's him coming out of the portal. That's what it's supposed to be.
Wow. Okay.
And the new one also happens simultaneously. While 2013 is technically going on, this is also happening in another and same world. It's happening in another part of the country. And Ash has an appearance in this one too.
Okay.
So,
don't tell me.
It's just, I mean, it's already out there. I'm surprised you don't know, because it's front news.
You would be surprised at how well I can keep things away from my brain.
Me usually too, but the
so
thing
don't
is,
do it.
I mean, they already told you you're not going to see him. That's not a lie. You don't see him.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to see him. But just listen.
Here's a question. Here's a question for you. On the 2013 remake, do you think that maybe they kind of dropped the ball by not getting Slayer's raining blood for the end battle thing?
Man, I always wondered why they didn't. Apparently, it was part of the plan. What came out a little bit later from Bruce was that they actually approached for that, and the amount of money they wanted, because, oh, you're Evil Dead, you've got Evil Dead money, was so obscene. And it was a moment where they felt like they were being talked down to and being slighted by the agent in control of the rights of the music, not the band, not nothing like that, but the agent house in charge of the music. That there was a moment where they just felt disrespected about it.
Because it just, picture it. She's standing outside after all the shit that just happened. It's starting to literally rain blood from the sky. It's silent, and then you hear. Your nipples get hard.
Oh yeah. Oh, they do. I dare you to listen to that song and admit that your nipples didn't get hard, because you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question about the car.
Yeah.
And this is just something that I can't remember if it's something that I remembered or something that I thought of at the time, or if I'm just completely off base here, and I could be. But in Fallout game, like it was either the first or second Fallout game, the one where if you walked around in the desert far enough, you could
find. That's Vegas.
No, it wasn't that advanced. But you could find like some of the Easter eggs included in it were like the whale and the potted plant.
That's two.
Okay, is the car that you fix up, is that car?
It's supposed to be that car, yeah.
Okay, awesome. I wasn't wrong.
For anyone listening, if you don't know what we're talking about, the car Ash drives in 1-2 Army of Darkness, you see it in Ash vs. Evil Dead, and and you see it in the 2013 Evil Dead. You will also see it in a fuck ton of other movies.
Spider-Man.
Yep. If Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are doing a project together, you'll see it because it's Sam's car. This car is destroyed and rebuilt. There's a million pranks that have happened with this car.
I do believe it was in the new Doctor Strange movie.
Yes, it was.
So
it was a bit moment. You had to look for it, but it was there. It was 100% there.
Yeah.
It has as much screen time as Ted Raimi. So.
It does. The fun fact is it has more screen time than Ted Raimi. It's the only thing. Yeah, it's hilarious.
I am going to say. But anybody who's watching this and they haven't seen any of the Evil Dead movies, 1, 2, and 3, be sure you get the DVDs with the commentary with both Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. They're fucking hilarious.
They are epic as fuck and worth your time. They're worth your time.
Do people still use DVDs? Is that a thing?
Yeah. I mean, I had to get. I lost my entire collection of every movie I own, so it's all digital for me now, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, if I still have them, I'd still have them.
That's something I had to ask in
they're
another
still
podcast.
collectible. More people are leaning towards Blu-ray and like that kind of stuff now for re-releases, but unfortunately, a lot of us are also still relying on VHS tapes because there's a fuck ton of horror history that still probably will never be translated.
Oh yeah,
I lost all that too, and that it's the VHSs and some of the early DVDs that hurt me the most. Like
Mhm.
the original printed Todd Browning's Freaks, I had the original on VHS and the second
Wow.
on DVD, all gone.
That's a great movie.
But with
Just another
Army of
anniversary,
Darkness-
guys.
Go ahead.
I tried to get this past year on my birthday. I always watch Exorcist 3 because I've seen it 37 times, and they have on they have on Amazon Prime. You can rent the movie or you can watch it for free, but they have like the rent or buy Blu-ray director's cut. But if you rent it, stream it, it's actually not. It is the original movie, which I watched back to back because, god damn it, I paid for it this time. So I'm going to watch the whole thing. And then I gave it a no-star review and was like, I can't love this movie enough, but do not rent this.
Yeah.
Go to the live or the free stream. Only get this if you're going to buy it because it's not the same thing. And that made me sad.
To give you your build-up, it's the last thing I'm going to say about it. How many books were in Army of Darkness? How many copies of the Necronomicon do they feature?
3.
How many have we seen?
So far, 3.
2.
2?
Any one that Bruce Campbell has ever physically touched is all in the same book.
You saw all 3 in Army of Darkness.
Yeah, you saw all 3 of them, but I mean actually used and functional. There's the one that Ash has always had, and there was the one in the 2013. 2013 was the second book. The new one,
the D translation.
The new one, the newest movie is finally we get to see the third book in action. That's why it's different.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
He did touch the one that tried to suck him in.
He did touch it. And that turned out to be the one that Mia had in 2013.
I see.
Okay, well, we've been spilling.
I can't even find my
Who's
scroll
drinking
lighter
with me tonight?
somewhere already. Oh wait,
Like-
no, I didn't. I got my scroll lighter.
I have the head of.
Okay.
It's a
Hello,
USB.
Kitty.
It's a USB thing, but yeah.
I've been reading a lot of Ultimate Universe comics, and there's a lot of Spider-Man involved. And when I was reading the bits about when he's involved with Kitty Pryde from the X-Men, there's a lot of "Hello, Kitty," and like the first time he's just like, "Did I just say that?" And then from that point on, it's they don't make a reference to it all, but it's like everybody's just "Hello, Kitty, hello, Kitty, hello, Kitty."
This is a slightly unpopular Marvel opinion, but I dare anyone to refute this or to have evidence to refute it. There's only one character you can remove from the Marvel universe to have it topple entirely and not even function as a universe, and that's Spider-Man. He's the only character that's been in damn near every supergroup out there or teamed up with him at some point in time. He's the linchpin that holds all of Marvel together through the ages.
That makes sense if you've read the Ultimate Universe.
Especially the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, especially the Ultimate Universe. I've just hit to where I need to move over to Miles Morales. So I read over the first
I haven't
half
read
of
anything
it.
Miles. I only know Miles from the video games. I've not gotten to read any Miles stuff yet. Or I've not seen Into the Spider-Verse.
See, my jam has always been Spider-Man 2099.
Oh, I love 2099. That was
Miguel O'Hara.
I remember the day that comic dropped. Oh my god! And I love that the newest Spider-Man games have the 2099 costume still in all of them.
The new animated movie is going to have that is not the protagonist, but the antagonist.
The new Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
I need to see the first one yet. I still have not had the chance to sit. I
Is
have
that the animated one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Really
that.
good
It was pretty good.
Oh no, I got my one of my mini Venom shirts on today, but like the Spider-Man universe is my favorite Marvel. It's my Spider-Man's my number one, and then it's the Tick, and then it's Swamp Thing. That's like my descent. Actually, no, it's actually the Tick, then Spider-Man, and then Swamp Thing.
I have kind of a band shirt thing going.
Fuck yeah.
Ooh,
This is
nice.
a death metal band called Taking the Head of Goliath.
Nice. Have some tracks, man.
Yeah. They're from Chicago. They're brutal.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Planes, trains, automobiles.
I'm gonna show off my shirt. This is one I made. It's available on TeePublic, mostly for my family. But my mother's name is Karma, and this is her mantra in life: life is choices. It's available in a variety of colors of ink and T-shirt, all different kinds of merch, though. But if everybody was wondering if Karma is a bitch, she used to go out. She used to go out with some of her friends after work, and they were called the VIBs, the very important bitches. And she was the grand poobah. So yes, Karma is indeed a bitch, and not just a bitch, the head bitch, and proud of it. So.
And I wanted to point out also, because I didn't get a chance to do this earlier. Well, you guys don't know James as well, though he has joined us previously on one of our shows. And if I have anything to say about it, you'll see him more. So know this face, know this beard.
Gonna have him co-host some stuff pretty soon too, because Raz is gonna be lazy.
Hopefully, we're going to be talking a lot about movies and various other things.
Ish.
A lot of what we did the whole opening of the show, I have a feeling is going to be a big chunk of that too. So I'm excited as fuck about it.
Yay!
Yeah, this is usually our we're just gonna start in and tell stories, but we're all like, we got so much shit to talk about.
Yeah, we also have another guest joining us shortly, so I figured
right.
a little bit of scrolling around.
Yeah, gotta do some squirreling.
Keep scrolling. Yeah.
I just got the shipment order for the thing that we're going to be opening in June.
Yeah.
For our Unwrapped, I just ordered some stuff, and at least one of the Unwrapped packages, we're getting another one from John Kreisa. This is going to be a full Sandman-based mystery comic book set. Yeah. He made up like 15 of them, and one of them includes, he made 15 random boxes and then is just shuffling them around and sending them out whenever. And one of them includes the entire first 6-run series of the original Sandman. And you should, if you like Sandman, you got to check out its price. Well, if you like comics, you got to check out John Kreisa's stuff. I've linked him before, but Jen, if you're interested, I'll send you, because he does great deals on stuff. And if you're interested in opening stuff with us, he does, like, if we have multiple people who all want to do something, he'll send out like discounts, because he's just awesome like that.
I was going to try and do a different box and open it in the next show. I mean, some things happen, so I may have one, I may not. I'm working to see what I can do.
Oh, I'm definitely. We're gonna have
your cars down is a bitch.
Yeah, we're going to have this month though. Next week actually. Steve Van Sampson, who was on our first episode of The Clutch, his book Black Honey that we were talking about then, the Ultimate Edition just went out, and I got mine here, and it has so much merch in it. It's insane. Like, they even came up with something edible. I'm not gonna. You can see it online, I guess. They came up with a black honey hot sauce, and the only way you can get it currently is to have ordered one of the. There's only 50 of the Ultimate Editions, and that's the only way you can get it right now. But later on in the year, they're actually Rough House Publishing is going to have their own line of hot sauces coming out through this kind of specialty release company, so you can order it from them then. Yeah,
that immediately made me think of a book that was made entirely out of fruit roll-ups.
Yeah, like it's edible fruit roll-ups. Right on the fruit roll-ups.
Done with this page.
It's so strawberry. That is the blood.
Oh, so it tastes like snozberries.
This is the liquid book.
There's a little bit different of an episode, because usually we only do horror, but we decided today to do a little bit of everything. So we're not always only going to do horror. That's just generally when you sit around and tell stories by a campfire. You get one of two stories. You get drug stories and you get horror stories. So today I'm going to do one of each of those, but everybody's going to do their own thing. And, that's what today is. It's our own thing today.
And last month when we were doing this, I was like all about telling you guys this story about a shoe. And
story about the shoe.
Yeah, so I built up all this stuff, and I was like, oh wait, no, I'm not reading that story. I'm actually reading this one. So now I have
Actually,
2 stories involving shoes.
this entire first part of this podcast here is what normally Carrie and I's pub night usually turns into, as far as our discussions. It's like rabbit hole, rabbit hole, rabbit hole. Let's get back. No, rabbit hole, squirrel. You know.
But we do it so, like, even adding me into it, I feel like the 3 of us are just kind of made to do this. Like, this is just, it's so seamless. We don't talk about this shit beforehand, guys. We just get on here, turn it on, and it happens. But we know what we're doing. Even if you don't think we do, we totally do. Or I'm lying. It's also possible.
It's controlled chaos.
And I'm showing off my brand new fancy smoking tobacco pipe today because I'm feeling fancy when I tell stories. So by the end of the show, I'm going to give this pipe an official name. I don't know what it is yet, but it'll happen. It'll be my very first ever live on air pipe name. So
send in your suggestions. See what you come up with. We'll figure out. Name Raz's pipe. It's a new show. Yeah. I'm going with Eldridge.
I like that one. And Michelle kept trying to call it Gandalf. I'm like, don't name my. This is my pipe. You don't name my pipe.
Well, that's just from we were doing Jonestown.
I would be lighting this properly with a match, you guys, and I feel like an asshole lighting with a lighter at all. I just don't have any matches.
Okay, Jenny's dad says Frank.
Okay.
James, to fill you in on the Eldridge thing, we were doing a Jonestown episode on You Can't Sit With Us the other night, and one of the people who, I think it was somebody, wasn't Raz, who escaped Jonestown, or a child of somebody who escaped Jonestown. Their name was Eldridge Cleaver, and I kept thinking they were saying Eldritch Cleaver, and I was like pulling out my couch, and I'm like, this is the Eldritch Cleaver. It has tentacles and stuff. And then I was like, oh no, then you have to have like Eldridge. If it's Eldridge Cleaver, that's Beaver Cleaver's, cousin from Innsmouth that comes to visit every now and then. So it
was epic. They were saying Eldridge, and
and I'm just like, Eldridge is cool. We want to be the
Eldridge
California accent.
That's a nice name.
It looks like it has finger bones in it.
It does. Like, you can't really see, like, there's a lot of patterns like in here. I'll actually turn the light on at some point and show you guys for real. But like, it's nice. It's very, very nice. It's all corked. It comes apart in all the different sections and
easier to clean.
Yep, super easy to clean.
I'm just drinking out of my magic whiskey glass. My brother-in-law got this for me 2 years ago. I'm trying the wrong way. The way things work. For Christmas, and it's magic because no matter how much bourbon is poured into this glass, it only counts as one finger. So
there you go.
So how much have you had? One finger. That's it.
Nice.
The glass was full. It was the Hulk's finger. Shut up. It
was a finger. You didn't say whose finger it was.
Exactly, right? The T-Rex. They don't have fingers.
They do now.
They kind of do. Those are claws.
Was that the running joke we started the other day? I was just like, they do now, and then I said like 5. It was the last unboxing video, I think, is when that whole thing started.
Okay, so for those of you who saw The Lost Unwrapped, and I'm sorry, we're just jabbering right now.
Yep.
But I know we have Jenny hanging out, and she likes jabbering. So, John had sent me this box, and it's like everything about it was amazing. It was wrapped and sealed with artwork all around it. Like there was the Joker, Hellboy, Venom, Nightcrawler, Rise of the Midnight Suns, and Sandman sticker, and I think there was one other character on the outside. Then inside the box there was a Wolverine, like print size, just stuck in the box. And then 2 pieces of boarded and bagged artwork were free artwork for me and all this stuff. So this time I was trying to cut it all apart, and like he does it on this really interesting, like prismatic metallic tape. And he does it in some of them are done in layers, but they were layering on top of each other. So if I went to try to like peel Nightcrawler's tail off of Hellboy, it would start to peel off his ink. So I was like, okay, I can't do that. I have to figure out how to have Hellboy, Venom, and like Nightcrawler facing this way, Hellraiser or Hellboy up here, and Venom's face this side with his tongue going here.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to separate them all, and I can't. But I'm going to put them on some big board and just. Anyway, so I was like, "Would you please?" I don't want to be that girl, but if you send me stuff, because I like to collect all of the art that you're sending me, could you package it with just like not overlapping pieces of art? So he was talking to me about his box my stuff today, and he's like, do you have any idea how hard it is to not overlap the art when I'm just, because he wraps it super tight in like this blue stuff, so, like saran wrap almost kind of stuff, and he's just like, oh my god, you're a pain in the ass. But,
Okay.
he loves me. So
what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, you guys keep talking, do whatever you want. I need to go grab an extension cord so I can hook this thing up to the power so it doesn't just shut off on me.
No problem.
I do apologize, but
no, you're good. You're good.
We approve of you staying with us. That's good. We
all
like
right.
that.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So that comic's on the way. Comics box. We're like, James is gone. We don't know what to do. We lost our ability to speak.
Words are hard.
Words are very hard. I was having that problem when I first logged on. I was like, as soon as James joins in, I'm like, hi, what's going on today? Cat, hi. And this is my first, guys. I'm not drunk. I just can't word it all tonight because words are hard. I wrote a bunch of shit the other night. I got something submitted. I'm excited. Yay. And then my vocabulary went with it. Because I used a lot of words in that one.
I mean, sometimes you got to word it. You got to word it up, man. You know?
I was a bit... I was showing off a little bit of my sesquipedalian side with that one, but it required it. So...
I have to finish a chapter of the Secret Thesis novel, the epistolary about the haunted attraction, and it's due tonight at 11:59. It's due in 3 hours and 57 minutes. And I sat down, I wrote a lot of a chapter. Didn't like what I was doing with it. I liked it, just not for the chapter I'm supposed to be writing. And so I scrapped it. Then I came up with 5 other ideas, and I put a lot of it together. But yeah, I gotta get that done.
Yay! Yes, I was so excited. I was sad because I planned on submitting 2 stories, but I had a bunch of things happen that I wasn't expecting to have happen that took up a lot of my time. And I just kept not being able to finish the one because I didn't want to start the second one until I finished the first one. But I did get the first one done, and the second one, when I'm looking back at it, I wasn't writing it from the right angle, so...
Gotcha. That's kind of what I was in that chapter. I felt like the idea was good, but I needed to shift it and do it later, like way later in the story.
Yeah, my plan just was like not working out right. I tried to explain it to Mom, and she's like, "Oh, so basically Fallen, only it takes a lot longer." Like, kind of, yeah. So when Mom gets something and is making references to that old of a movie, I'm just like, yeah, you're kind of right there. I didn't think that out all the way.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
Yeah.
Have you heard back from our 4th guest of the evening yet?
No, I just know he's supposed to be busy. I think he hasn't seen the link yet, so
okay, cool.
I'll keep it over there. Dude, I haven't even figured out the flash fiction. You do flash fiction? I don't. Awesome, because I just try to write shit when I'm in the mood to write shit, and then. But I have to have it be a day where like nothing's going to happen, because I'm like, okay, I'm ready, I'm planned, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna write, have hours cleared, and then it's like, oh, somebody tells me they're going to be stopping by or something. I'm like, okay, I will wait because I cannot write when there's somebody here, and I don't want to stop, lose the entire flow, and then try to start up again. Because once you get in that groove, you're in it, you know? And then they don't show up for like 7 hours or at all. And so then I'm just like, well, damn, I could have been writing.
Yep.
So
Well,
what am I?
Another bullshit. No, we will go ahead and start stories though. I mean, I'm
Okay.
hop in when you can.
No other submits. Luckily, Raz was my knight in shining armor the month before last.
Is that how long ago that was? Shit, I had no perception of time. I know I revisited the Jim's Cabin series and wrote another short in that universe, and that whole character is really important to my whole Riverside universe, but people have only seen him in short fiction so far. But eventually, there's more.
Oh, I'm so excited for that to come out. That's going to be so much fun.
Weird, stupid shit sometimes. I really do some stupid shit sometimes.
You're going to hear 2 stories tonight from me about shoes. Well, one is mostly about shoes. The other one features a shoe. But the weird thing is that I didn't plan that. I had been talking about how I was going to do the shoe story. And then when I was like, well, it's really short, I should come up with something else. I was just like, oh, that one has shoes in it too. I can use that. It'll work. It's like a theme. The girl who doesn't buy shoes ever talking about shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, sorry. I tried, by the way, everybody, for May the 4th be with you to do the Leia buns. I didn't have the bobby pins that I thought I did, so they didn't last very long. But then I had to go on a podcast, and you can't wear headphones and Leia buns at the same time.
No, but they do make Leia bun headphones.
I don't want any more hair. I have plenty of I don't need to add fake hair to my real hair.
Oddly enough, so do
I
I.
tried putting them up here, and it looked really odd. You do have a nice thick head of hair. And a giant bushy beard.
Thank you.
You maintain it quite well.
Well, that's weird. The weird thing is I just shampoo it in the shower and it just looks like this.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of men, at least around here, think about shampooing their beard. They're just like,
oh my God, I always do what I have.
It's not real hair. I see so many nasty beards.
I was just told by my Aunt Joyce earlier today that I need to keep it because she has plans for me for Christmas. Don't really know what.
Probably Santa.
Here's open as Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll send you some red contacts with slit pupils, so you can like ho
nice.
ho ho.
Sit on my lap. Tell me what you want, kid.
There's a very important thing people that don't have beards need to understand, and why. If you're trying to grow a beard, you need to shampoo that shit. A bearded man's biggest enemy is soup, because we get this disease called soup beard, where no matter how carefully and safely you eat that soup, it does not fucking matter. Some of that soup is going up in the beard. It just happens. It's
ramen noodles kind of out of the question right now.
Yep. See, anything soupy whatsoever, man. Even I love me some beans and ham. I love that shit. But it end up in my beard. I know it. So you got to clean that shit.
Yeah. I had some Carm made ham and beans, and it was so good. She delivers it. My mom does Granny Dash. Well, not anymore. She just went back to work, but she had retired. But also during COVID, she wasn't working as much, and so she would go through and make meals for me, Madeline, my stepsister Sarah, and her kids, and my sister Cody and her 4 kids and husband, and would then like drop it off household by household. So we have like, she now has professional setup for it. She has all these like pans and sticker labels with her name on them for like what's on the menu, if anything needs reheated or where to put stuff, and the thermal bags, like big thermal bags for delivering everywhere. She's all pro Granny Dash now. And ham and beans is something that we all enjoy. So
no one makes it because I'm the only one that eats it. So I have a hard time getting ham and beans. But I love that shit.
Just save the bone, and you're halfway there.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and this is still Jenny, right?
Yeah.
Jenny's just playing with us. Okay. Jenny's 2 people tonight. She's like, I'm hoping for merch. I got my name in twice. It works. They don't know it's me.
Corpse Garden. Actually, the shampoo that I use is the 2-in-1 with the conditioner, so
Same.
it works for me.
Okay, last one, and then we'll go. One of my family members, I'm not going to say who because I don't want to embarrass them.
So you're nice. That would totally out my family.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like mine watch this, but people know them who are on here right now. One of my family members was out at an Airbnb thing that they did for vacation a short while ago, and we're sending us pictures and stuff, and it was like it was really weird because they'd gotten this like it was like a farm styled thing, and they had like jean pillows with the pockets on the back. So mom's like butt pillows, and it was like jean something else, and it had and so she was like, wow, they're really into butts. And the beds, they had one bedroom with 3 beds that were all like almost touching each other. So they were like joking about that. And then they got in the bathroom and they took a picture of shampoo/conditioner. And they were like, well, which is it? And apparently we're unaware of the fact that there is a shampoo conditioner combination that's been around since like what, the 80s?
Since the dawn of
At least.
At least, yeah. And we're like, no, they do that. That's a thing. They just put it in there. For all you lazy fuckers who can't actually condition, this Airbnb wants you to have sleek hair.
Okay, so there is also such a thing as a 3-in-1 body wash for us guys who are just lazy.
Yep. And apparently in 1987 was when she released the world's first conditioning and cleansing shampoo.
Jenny, I'm wondering what other 13? I'm lost for a second here.
Names.
One for each personality.
Oh, okay. I thought you were hopping into something. I was like, I thought maybe you wanted to do one of the comic unboxings with me or something. I was like, oh yeah, he has some. He has actually under 10 left now, but if you'd like to, let me know. Look up. 13 pages. All right. Please don't. I'll get so confused. I'm already trying to get used to like everybody as they are. So, all right. Talk to me. Catch up with me after we're done tonight. I'll let you know. We're going to have him on the show for it too. So we should start talking about stories. That's what we're here for.
I want to do the first because I want to do the non-horror first to get it out of the way. And you guys know, you two know, especially you, Del, that I've lived a very long and storied life, and I've accomplished a lot of great things. I've been on crazy adventures. This is my probably craziest, one of the 2 craziest adventures I've ever been on that isn't paranormal or horror related of any kind. Now, I ran with all kinds of different people growing up, like well before my band days, wrestling days, and all that. And a lot of the people that I ran with, surprise, surprise, we smoked a lot of weed, we did a lot of hallucinogens. There was this one guy that my current group of friends at this particular instance hung out with. We called him Whiny Mike. We had more than one Mike in our group. We had Lucky, who's still my best friend to this day. I love him. And we had Whiny Mike. Now, Whiny Mike was rich. His parents, I'm talking millionaires. Like, they were rich as fuck. But Whiny Mike never had his own money for weed. He never had food. He never chipped in. And it was kind of a long-running joke about how useless he was as a human being. But he was a cool guy, whatever. Every group's got a Whiny Mike. Whether they're rich or not, everybody's got a Whiny Mike. One day, Whiny Mike looks at me. I'm stoned as fuck. He's stoned as fuck. I had just done 3 hits of acid, just like 5 minutes ago, and he comes up and he says, "Hey, Raz, I want to take you out to get donuts." And I double taked. I was like, "What? Who the fuck are you and where's Whiny Mike? Because you've never once treated me to anything." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I feel really bad about it, man. Let's go down to Jolly Pirate Donuts." If y'all don't know, back then there used to be a chain called Jolly Pirate Donuts, and they were all over the goddamn place. They were great back in the day. So we decide we're going to walk to this Jolly Pirate Donut place. And this place is probably like a half an hour walk. No big deal. We're stoned. I'm tripping. Fuck, donuts sound great. So there we are on our journey through Huber Heights, Ohio. We make it there. We're out front. And Mike says, "You know what? Fuck donuts. We need to get something nicer. You deserve better than donuts." And I'm like, "Mike, I want fucking donuts, dude. I just walked a half an hour for donuts. Go in there and get me at least one glazed fucking donut, and then we can do whatever you want." So he goes in, gets the glazed donut, comes out. He's like, "All right, here's your donut. Now we're going on a journey." My friend My friend owns that car over there, and I barely even glanced at this car. I didn't even see what kind of fucking car it was. I just noticed that there was a car there. He's like, yeah, he keeps the keys up there. He was inside. He told me I could borrow it. We're gonna go down to the 7-Eleven because the 7-Eleven has the giant ass muffins in the morning. They've got Slurpees. Just it's nicer than donuts. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, you got me my donut, and I don't have to walk anymore. I'm sold. He opens the car door. I get in. That's it. Couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about this car. I get in, and I just lay across the back seat. It's kind of comfortable. It's nice. He gets in. Oh, we start driving. About 5 minutes in the trip, I'm like, Mike, who did you borrow this car from? He's like, oh, he just mumbled some name. I was like, cool. A couple minutes later, I was like, but why is there a cage? Why is there clearly a cage separating me and you? He's like, oh, you didn't notice that when you got in? I was like, kind of, but not really until now. He's like, oh, yeah, my buddy's a cop. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, this is his like private car. And he's like, oh, yeah, this is his car. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't see the outside of this goddamn thing. And then we drive another 10, 15 minutes. I'm hearing sirens behind us. I lean up and look out the back window. I was like, dude, I think these cops are following you. I think there's cops following you. He's like, really? That's weird. I look out and I was like, yeah, that's fucking weird, man. And then we drive in silence for another 5 minutes. He's like, dude, look what I found. I'm like, what? There's a shotgun mounted in the front of this car that Mike needs to hit the. Mike fired accidentally the shotgun that was mounted after fiddling with the safety with it because he didn't intend to shoot it, but he did, and it blew a hole through the top of the car. I'm like, I'm terrified now, and I can't hear anything because we're in a tiny fucking car, and there was a fucking shotgun, and so I can't hear shit. What I don't hear is that now the sirens are going, and the cars are following us closer. And then he's like, "Oh, I found something else." Once we could hear again, like a couple minutes later, I was like, "What?" He flips the switch, and I hear louder sirens because now I'm starting to hear at least out of one ear, and then I see lights everywhere, and I realize. That is when I realized we're in a cop car. Not the shotgun, not the cage, none of it. It was the moment that he flipped on the sirens. So now I know that we're in a cop car. Now, this is going on for a while. This chase, if you were to look this back up, and if anyone's interested, you can privately message me after. There is video of this police chase online in 97. This made the news. It was a chase that lasted for 5 counties. And if you've never been to Ohio, some of the counties are butted up kind of close. So if I say I went to 3 different counties today, I can do that in under an hour. But we did 5, and that was an over 2-hour journey of Mike refusing to admit that the cops were following us directly, so he didn't need to pull over. Me assuring him that they're definitely following us. The weird saving grace is, we were following some that's on the radio because I eventually got him to turn on the radio to tune in the local AM station news. And that's how I got him to believe me, finally, that he stole this cop car. And in fact, they lied to me about it and that we were in a stolen cop car and they were chasing us this whole time. He finally admits it. He finally believes that what's happening. And by then, again, we're almost at that 2-hour mark. My biggest saving grace is that I only leaned up out of the seat once in the very beginning. According to the radio report and what our friends were watching on the news, there was only one person in this cop car. Only one person. And I'm like, math, man, there's 2. He's like, oh, they probably just don't know I'm here. And I said, Mike, you're fucking driving it, buddy. Like, they know that you're fucking, they think it's just you, dude. He's like, no, they think it's you. I'm like, I'm in the back fucking seat. Who's moving the vehicle? So this was a serious argument, like an angry argument I had trying to like lean up and like slam into the cage. I'm trying to get him to pull over. I'm tripping my balls off. Meanwhile, he's cutting through neighborhoods. He's going off road, popping up on the highway, coming off. We were not in danger at any time of hitting another car, thank God. At least moving vehicles. He did clip a number of parked cars. He knocked down signs. All said and done, they estimated that he did a little over $112,000 worth of property damage. Different cars, public shit, driving through fences. At one point in time, the back right door became so damaged that I could actually open it. Because, obviously, if you've never been in the back of a cop car, you can't open it from the inside. It got so damaged, the car started to fling open, and I realized it. And I thought to myself, Mike's never going to stop this car. Today was the day that he did too many drugs and lost his shit. So I'm either going to die or I'm going to get arrested. So he cuts into this one last neighborhood. We are officially a little over 2 hours away from our original location and nowhere near any 7-Elevens. Like, we're in a town that has never even heard of 7-Elevens at this point. And he turns this corner real hard. He got a big lead on the police, and I just opened it and tumbled out. I tumbled right out of the car as it went around a turn into these people's bushes. And this is when the story splits in two, because I got to tell you my experience and Mike's experience. Mike's experience is known because it was very well broadcasted to the world to see. And you can't believe anything he said, but I was also there for support for the court date, which I'll explain in a minute. I was never brought up on any charges for this because I was living in a bush for another 8 hours, but we'll get back to me in a second. So Mike does not realize that I'm not in the car, apparently, and according to him, he attempted to speak to me and was getting progressively angry with me when I refused to answer his questions. He did not know that I had exited the vehicle and rolled out. So he ends up driving for about another 15, 20 minutes and says, fuck it. He's pissed at me. He drives into a glass building. It is a big office building. There's people in it. He drives to the front of the glass and he parks the car and gets out. Cops are already on his ass, so they've already surrounded the building. You know, county is ahead. Like, literally, cops are joining this chase. Every time he goes through a different area, they're ready. They spot him. So this is all known. So the cops are completely surrounding the place under 10 minutes. Like, it's just, they're now treating it like a hostage situation because there's a shotgun in the car, even though it's not in his hand. He fired it once. They know it's there. He knows it's there. So they're treating the whole thing like a hostage negotiation now. He's asked for his demands. Mike, in his infinite wisdom, decides that what he wants is a big muffin and a Slurpee from 7-Eleven. Now, don't know how much anyone here knows or anyone listening knows about hostage negotiation. If you ask for something exceedingly simple and it's promised to you, usually, if they deem it something that will like heavily de-escalate, they'll do it, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things of whether they wouldn't or not, but they did it. They got him the muffin and they got him the Slurpee. And I don't know what he said to any of the people inside because he doesn't remember. And there was obviously like no microphones and coverage didn't cover the inside. But he told me he got bored. But it still took another 5 minutes after he wrecked the car through the glass to still realize that I was not in the back of the car. Finally went back and opened the door and looked and I wasn't there. So he goes through this whole thing. The cops, they show up. They're like, okay, we have what you asked for. How do you want to do this? He said, oh, I'll just come out and get it. So Mike, when his request arrives, he just walks out and sits down, sits down in front of them and eats the muffin and starts to drink. And they're just like, make of him. And he starts whining, because that's what Whiny Mike did, that he was promised what he was promised. So they actually unhooked one of his hands, kept the other one with his belt loop, and let him finish his drink and his muffin on the way to where they took him. This motherfucker, when he did go to court, and again, I was there for only moral support, he got off with community service because his parents were exceedingly rich. They had to pay, triple the amount of damage that was actually done, settle with a lot of people individually outside of court for their cars and things like that. But yeah, that was it, community service. And he did his community service with the that I worked for my very first haunt with, because we did a lot of community stuff. So he actually joined us and haunted and did some of our extra events to work off his community service. Now, then there's me, 8 hours alone. I took 3 hits of acid. I was fucking, my God, the sky was melting. I was so fucking out of my brain. And this was the moment that I found my hatred for lawn gnomes. This was never done a too large amount of acid for the time in a very situation. Let me explain to you that everything suddenly seems a million more times more terrifying and intimidating than it ever should be. When you are stuck, you're terrified in someone's hedges in some random neighborhood, you don't even know where you are, and you look out of the hedges and you see 5 gnomes staring back at you from their yard. I'm not going to say it's a lot bit terrifying. I pissed myself. I looked out of that bush, saw 5 fucking gnomes staring at me, and I know they were moving, and I know they were whispering about me. I pissed myself. I was terrified. I never left the hedges. And the only reason I know that it was about 8 hours, because our friends were watching this entire thing fucking unfold on live TV. And they realized that really quick that it's Mike, because they know the cop's car. They know the cop. and they'd already heard that Mike borrowed the guy's car from our inner group of friends, also in the same city. Word got around pretty quick that it was Mike, but that was also when everybody realized they hadn't been able to reach me all day. And they thought that there was a possibility that I might somehow be with Mike, because my parents didn't know. No human being knew where I was. And there was always at least one or two people, no matter what. If I chose to drop acid or do hallucinogen, I had safety people where I would say, hey, I'm being safe about this. I'm telling you what I'm doing and where I'm going. It all happened so quick. And, I got donuts as a fat kid. So I wanted donuts. I didn't have a chance to tell anybody. So they basically took the path a couple hours after everything was over that Mike took. And it was really easy to follow the destruction because it was fucking blatant everywhere. They followed the path and they realized they saw something really familiar sticking out of a bush. It was my pants, because I had pissed myself and I wanted to dry off my pants. And I thought, these people cannot see me. They do not know I'm in their bushes. Only their lawn gnomes know. And as long as the lawn gnomes did not tell the people who lived there that I was there, all I had to do was take off my pants, put them on the hedges on the outside, like facing the lot. So they saw my pants sticking out of a hedge, like hanging there, like almost like the hedge was wearing pants. They were just on the hedge. And well, luckily I found out that these people had been on vacation for a week and were not due to come home for like another at least a week. So there was no one actually home, thank God. But they found my pants and they stopped. And all I knew from inside the bush was that I was surrounded by lawn gnomes. I was going to die here. I had nothing to eat or drink, and I had 3 packs of cigarettes and a pack of joints because I would always pre-roll and take things with me. And I just sat there in that bush 8 hours smoking more joints and smoking all my cigarettes. And then someone tried to steal my fucking pants. The second my pants moved, I jumped out of those bushes because I realized this was my moment. This was my one moment to stop the terror of the lawn gnomes and fucking stand up for myself once and for all. And one of us was going to die, and it was me or the gnomes. And goddamn it, if I was going to die, it was not going to be without my pants. So I jumped out of those fucking bushes, swung, ended up popping one of my best friends right in the face so hard I knocked 2 of his teeth out. Jesus. And then I saw it was him. He had my pants in my hands. He got real quiet. I got quiet, and I put my pants back on, and I got in the car. And then again, later we all went with him to that court date for moral support. But for a very long time after that, I was actually mentally disturbed by lawn gnomes, and I couldn't handle them. I have a very similar issue with penguins for a period of time. But yeah, that's probably one of the craziest drug-induced adventures. One of several, but it was the one I don't get to tell as often. But yeah, that's the time I stole a cop car inadvertently, got terrorized by lawn gnomes, and sat in someone's hedges for 8 hours without pants on.
You got me beat there, man. I
can only imagine what I miss.
Oh, I'll tell you. And but the next time I tell one of these fun stories, it's going to be about the time I burnt a motel down, and we'll talk about that one another time.
Well, you see, there is this need for a donut.
It all started because I was high. I dropped acid. Someone that never treats me to anything ever offered me my favorite donut, which is a glazed donut. If the donut had not existed or been in question, I really truly feel like none of this would have happened.
I really need to point out that
drugs weren't the problem. Donuts were.
So Whiny Mike is like enticing you with donuts, and then is like, "No, dude, I have something so much better than donuts. It's 7-Eleven."
Dude,
that
giant blue muffins and Slurpees. I love me some fucking donuts, but a giant blue raspberry Slurpee and a blueberry muffin in the morning. I'm sorry. I love my donuts, but like, this is 1997, man. I'm high as fuck. If I want something more than just a donut, I'm going to do it. I didn't know that was a cop car. Fuck. I should have been able to look right at it like, dude, that's a cop car. But no, I was distracted. I was eating a donut.
Any morning 7-Eleven's involved at that early in the morning, unless you're off on your way to work, it's probably a bad morning. Or a good morning, depending on how you look at it.
I mean, I never got that Slurpee or that muffin, so it was kind of a bad day. And I got terrorized by lawn gnomes without my pants for 8 hours in a bush. So, I mean, it turned out badly.
The driver did get a Slurpee and a muffin, but he had to eat them being escorted back.
Yeah, by the cops. But I didn't get any charges. I didn't get in trouble for anything. I just, got a new fear of lawn gnomes.
Awesome. Everybody, this is Jar Jar Jeremy. He is coming in and hanging out with us tonight. We've had him a couple times before. You can catch him usually over at the Dorkening on Splash pages.
I figure I can't say no at this point.
I don't get to do that often.
I wonder what high you would do in Buc-ee's.
Oh man, I love
Is this a story?
Those goddamn breakfast sandwiches at Buc-ee's. I will murder anyone for one of those sandwiches. I bought a lighter, a Buc-ee's brand lighter, and this fucking lighter, I took it to Florida when I went to Florida like 2 years ago, and I lost it the second I got to Florida. We rolled into Florida and suddenly it was in my pocket. It was nowhere in the car. I lost this fucking thing. Then 6 months later, on a different vacation, I find the fucking lighter in the car. I use it the whole vacation. I lose it in the car. Then the next vacation we went to Michigan a couple months back. I found it again in the car. So this fucking Buc-ee's lighter is magic and knows I only really need it when I'm on vacation, apparently.
Or else the dresser people are jumping into your car.
Yeah.
Well, I keep telling you to take care of that quantum void underneath that passenger seat.
Yeah, but I get a lot of useful things through that void. Like, let's be honest. Like, I mean, I bet you the next time I'm in that kind of road trip, if I don't find that Buc-ee's lighter, I better at least find that fucking muffin and Slurpee, or I'm gonna be pissed.
There you go.
There's my very exceedingly rare non-horror story.
And it was
very... I don't know. There were gnomes in there.
I mean, it was horrifying to me personally, but you know.
Yeah. Nothing supernatural involved except for the gnomes.
Got me a new pipe,
Gnomes.
A much superior pipe from the previous fancy pipe I had.
That is pretty fancy.
It's Sherlock. It's being named this episode. So
yeah. By the end of the episode, I'm going to announce a name. I'm going to take suggestions. We'll name it. We'll all name it together.
So far, Frank and Eldridge have been suggested. So
Eldridge sounds like a wood pipe name.
That's the front runner at the moment. But we got some time.
All right.
I'm sorry I didn't bring a lot of energy.
That's
just
okay.
Very like.
I worked in a haunt all fucking day for like 78 hours. I have none either.
I just dealt with children. Uh-oh, did I kick myself off?
No, I can hear you, but you're frozen in time and space.
Yeah.
As you do.
I think he'll be back. Jeremy's really good at holding position, so he could just be fucking with us. Because I've got a picture of him like doing this.
No, dude. Here's the thing.
Going off the show one night.
You are the queen of holding positions to make you seem like you're frozen. You do it a lot to the point where I was actually fucking with Jeremy about it a while, like on the Unwrapped show that we did. I was telling him, I was like, no, she's just there. And then Drew believed it for a second. But Jeremy was like, no, he's full of shit. he called me on it.
I accidentally kicked the bottom of my computer, so I might have froze for a second. Did I?
Yeah, you froze for a sec, but your Vox was fine. It was just your video.
All right, fantastic.
So you have a video of myself when I was visiting her at Carrie's apartment, where I'm videotaping and we're kind of messing around with her. I believe it's Alika or Alexa.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Alexa. Only she has this Samuel L. Jackson version of it.
It's awesome.
And I essentially go, Samuel, how do farts work? And she's just sitting there at her computer, not moving. And I kept thinking, was this frozen here? But no, I saw her blink. So
I'm often very still. It's
the next time you do that, tell Alexa to fart happy birthday. I know we were really super high a couple years ago and just saying random shit to Alexa. And apparently there is a fart app that if you tell it what kind of fart you want, no matter how detailed you were, it will go through a database. But then it'll ask you, hey, we don't have access to this fart database. Would you like to pay 99 cents? And I thought we had it not hooked up to accept payments. And one of the kids was like, yeah, do that. And it charged me $1. And this thing has a database of thousands of different kinds of farts. And I was pretty impressed. So now because we spend $1 on it every year for our birthday, we have to hear the fart happy birthday song because, why else do we spend a fucking $1?
I mean, Samuel L. Jackson was $1.50 to get his voice for everything. And between him and who did Hell's Kitchen? The guy who
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, I have him on there too. He'll critique meals if you have him, but his is he only has about 10 phrases that he rotates through telling you how terrible you are.
Now,
Shouting stuff.
is Morgan Freeman one of the voices?
Not that I'm aware of. Melissa McCarthy came out recently, but
Okay.
not a huge fan, and my mother absolutely hates her. So
Does she have a voice that people recognize? Very like normally,
I don't know.
like
of modern female
It was
actresses,
odd to me out of
she
people.
does have a pretty distinguishable voice.
Does she?
Honestly, yeah.
Okay.
If you know who she was and watch any of her movies, like just like listen to them, you would know exactly who she was the second you heard it if you were familiar with her. So yeah.
The two voices. The two voices I would get.
Oh yes.
The two voices I would get would be Ozzy Osbourne, like the current Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know. I didn't know. You know. Or like John Taffer from Bar Rescue, just screaming everything at you. That'd be cathartic.
I'd get Tally from South Park and the Tick. That's all I'd want to hear, just all day long, both of them.
There was something that it was a GPS, and it's not real. It's something that people are making up, but they were like, okay, have all these different voices tagged to your GPS, and one of them was Henry Rollins, and it was like, okay, as you're going, get ready to turn up here. Which, by the way, my friend and I played a club that was about 14 blocks from here, way back in the end, just like goes through and has like this huge long story from Henry Rollins. And well, you missed your fucking turn. But while we're in this area, let me tell you about this thing that happened to me once, and it's awesome. We all. Sorry, Jeremy, you were the only one that wasn't there. We all went to Rollins together.
I'm sorry.
One of the spoken word things a year ago. Next time you got to come. Okay.
Where is it?
Nebraska. You know.
Yeah, I don't usually leave my house. You want me to go to Nebraska? Probably not, Carrie. Sorry.
But I mean, for Rollins.
More for us.
You know. I'll put you in a really small room if it makes it feel better when you're.
There you go. You can like ask him if you can bring a little phone of me and like sit me there.
This is my ticket. Click.
Yeah.
Right. I saw.
It's going to nobody else.
I saw in a video recently. This guy was doing Megadeth's Symphony of Destruction, only singing using Cartman's voice from South Park. It was brilliant.
That's fucking
he'd play the you know, the thing that everybody sings along with. They go, "You take a mortal man and put him in control." And
that's epic, dude.
My mother found this video that she sent to me, and it was somebody doing Red Hot Chili Peppers Under the Bridge, but it was with a squeaking chicken. And then there was another one, and the thing is that we had bought the same squeaking chicken as a white elephant gift when we were on our way back from a trip one time at one of those big gas stations that has like all, you know, you can get like the knives, the shirts, and all the weird shit. And so we bought this screaming squeaking chicken, and they're like, and they're like back and forthing with the chickens, and Mom's like, I have no idea what that song was, but I think that you do, right? And I'm like, yes, I know that song quite well. Okay. That was the same chicken, right? Yes, it was. So I'm good? Yes, Mom. You did a really good job.
I think I finally figured out what tick excerpt I'd like them to have on Alexa. Like, but it's got to be early in the morning. Like, I need to be able to get up and be like, tick, toast recipe. And then he would respond to me, City, I am the tick. You have melted my heart. From this day forth, I will spread my buttery justice over your every nook and cranny. Hear me, O city, my city. Your toast will never go bare again. That's what I need.
Spoon.
Can't you just record that to your phone and let it play?
Man, I could, but like that requires effort, Jeremy.
Oh. I need an app, damn it.
So here's the deal. Now that you've done that, he's going to get bored and record that for you at some point in the next month.
Smacking evil on the nose with a rolled up newspaper of justice. Bad evil.
I'm working on Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb right now, so
nice.
I got some work ahead of me. I take these voices very seriously.
That's an epic choice.
You guys are all talented. I'm just like, yeah, okay. I pulled off like the British accent.
Oh, I wish I was like these guys where they're able to do it like on the spot. Like they can just call it up. Like I get my nerves get the best of me. Like I have to, if I'd known you guys probably for another year or so, I could probably do it no problem with you guys. But like right now, it's like I'll sit there and be like, Perry the platypus, and it just won't come out right.
I try voices all the time that I think that I used to do like when I was younger, and I try to do them now. And I'm like, I launch it because I'm so proud of it. And I'm like 2 words, and I'm like, oh fuck, that was terrible. I know how to do some days. I just fall the fuck apart.
Okay.
I'm so jealous of like Brandon and Jeremy and you,
really good,
and Drew as well.
Yeah.
And Brandon had like something up after, like I just started watching the Midweek Geeks. I didn't really know Brandon. I just knew like his character or whatever, but we friended each other, and you know. And he was like, "What was your first impression of me?" And I was just like, "Well, you do really good impression." I didn't realize that was like his. That's not like his shtick. It's just something that he does frequently. Yeah, I was just like, I really like you. You do crazy good impressions, and you have very tasteful stuff.
Really good villain voices too. Like I really enjoyed the villain voices that he was doing when we were doing that read through the other day. That was you did a great job too. Everybody on that was amazing. Like that was so much fun.
I need more of that in my life. I love doing the readings.
Yeah, well, look forward to more to come. There shall be more. We shall be legion in our readings.
Yesterday at the movie, there is a part, you'll know it when you see it, when you finally get to see it. There's a part where I kind of went with the Nicolas Cage and Face Off one. I want to take his face off, like there at the theater, and the front row started laughing.
I have one question, and I only want to know one thing about the new Guardians movie before I watch it. Just one thing, and it might be a little bit of a spoiler, it might not be, but I need to know. And you can message it to me privately if you don't want to say it out loud.
Sure.
I can't know if Kevin Bacon's in it.
Oh yeah.
Good question.
That's the most important thing to me. Is Kevin Bacon in the new Guardians? Because he was in the holiday special, and that was fucking weird. And we, of course, we all know the story about it.
Yes and no.
The holiday special was. I was kind of. I had put it on about a month ago, and I was just like, I'll throw this on. The kids haven't seen it, and it was really. I was like, this is way better than it should be for a little special.
Oh, I made my family watch it at Christmas.
Yeah. Same.
Oh yeah, it's now on the list.
It was only 45 minutes too, so it's not like a full movie.
I know the story about him watching it in the theaters with his family, and then mentioning him by name, and him freaking out, and him talking to Kevin about wanting to do something, and then seeing him in the special. I'm hoping the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, okay, so it's not really a spoiler, but he does appear in that. During the end credits, there are photos from the previous movies and the special.
Okay, cool. That's at least good enough. As long as he makes an appearance in some way, that makes me super happy.
And there is a mid-credit scene, yikes, and an end credit scene. So be sure you see.
Sweet. I never leave a theater when it's Marvel.
Yeah.
Until, like, it's black and the ushers are coming in going, dude, you got to get the fuck out. And I'm like, are you sure? Because it could come back on. I'm like, no, I assure you. It's done.
Yeah, I just sit there. If nothing else, everybody else is going away, so I don't have to deal with being in a crowd when I leave.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I would rather be alone when I'm trying to walk away from things.
Yep. So, Blumhouse horror movies, a good chunk of them have after credits too. You gotta. Yeah.
Blumhouse, they're great, but they're also hit and miss.
Oh yeah, that's 100% true.
However, I do have to say that some movies that I kept thinking this is going to be a cheeseball, I can wait until it's on video. Then I watch it on streaming and realize this is a great movie, like Mithrigan or Megan.
That was a lot better. Like, that was like an intellectual sleeper. I feel like because there was a lot of heavy shit in there about what is right, what is wrong. Like there was a lot of shit to unpack after you watch the movie, like to the point where you have to watch it almost immediately again. All the nuances. It was impressive.
Oh yeah, and I referred to it as the grim and gritty remake of Small Wonder. So,
Okay.
That's accurate as fuck. Yeah, that's accurate.
So,
if Vicky would have lost her shit, yeah, yep.
All right. Who's next?
I remember the episode of that when the like grandfather died and he hadn't cared for her. Like he was just like, oh, she's a robot, and then she like fucking shocks him back to life.
Yep, that was a weird.
That was
episode.
weird.
Like, that one like felt like it was almost in a bizarre world.
Just like, okay, so she's electric.
Boogie woogie woogie electric.
Yeah.
I can't finish it, but I had to start it.
I get the electric slide and the
I don't even know how to do it
a lot. I don't know how they.
I know the instructions during the song, but I still don't understand it. No, I can do the Necronomicon, I can do the Time Warp, but I mean the electric slide, I can't do
it. I can mash potato. I can do the twist.
Can you
so tell me, baby, you like it like this?
Oh no!
Tell me.
So many songs stuck in my head. We were talking about writing song fics the other night, and then it became like, instead of doing like good songs, it became like, but what if you wrote song fics about earworms that drive you fucking nuts?
Yep. So that's like, good. It's
like writing a song about bird is the word and stuff.
I am doing one with there's that band The Flies that did that super famous song Got You Where I Want You. I am writing this really fucked up, like progressive, like serial killer short story piece. It's turning out really. I'm really happy with it so far, but it makes that song even more fucked up than it already was.
Now, that was one of the podcast brainstorms that Carrie and I were coming up with, where we just talk about song lyrics. It all came because the song "Raspberry Beret" started playing by Prince.
Yeah, I know that song.
Well. And we just brought up the lyrics and started going through them, and like, wow, this is kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yet it does.
I'm still pissed off about two songs from, I think it was the 80s. One is "Let's Hear It for the Boy."
Just singular.
Yep.
Yeah, because okay, he don't talk sweet. He ain't got much to say. He's not too rich. He's watching every dime. He doesn't know how to dress. He doesn't know how to. All he can do is fuck. Is basically what the song is saying. Because like every time he pulls me near, I just want to cheer. Let's hear it for the boy. But he has no social skills. Can't treat her to anything. Can't do anything at all.
He just really high on the spectrum. All right.
Sometimes he lets me out of the basement. It's great.
It's okay, but like it was like the song that all the girls are singing. You're like, you realize that there's only one thing he can do, right? None of you are catching that? Okay, go for it. And the other one is Joey by Concrete Blonde, because
technically the 90s.
Is that the 90s? It's early though, right?
Yeah, very early 90s.
Okay, but that's just like, I'm in an abusive alcoholic relationship. If you're not completely puking on yourself, come hang out. I got some cash. I'll buy you enough booze so that you can.
Yeah.
I mean,
that album is complicated altogether.
It's a fucking good song as far as like vocals and stuff go, but
Flavor Aid.
That's the album that Bloodletting is on. It's a great song. But
okay, so
back from that rabbit trail.
Drunk. Squirrel's drinking more than me. He's got some empties going. So we should get back to storytelling. Who wants to go next? I have something ready if somebody else. James. All right.
I have a short one. I'm going to do two as well.
All right.
Instead of one or the other, I decided to do both, but one of them is just one I'm going to do is about 2 pages long, and I read it to Carrie at one of our pub nights and everything. A couple of things I want to bring up here, but first, this one, it's entitled Wilbur the Fly, based on a true story. This was written actually back in 2003. And that was the time where I was spending a lot of time at an all-night kind of diner kind of place called the Coffee Pot Cafe. And I would bring my mom to her overnight shift at the hospital. and I would sit up and wait at the cafe and drink coffee and write in my journal and read and everything until she was off her shift. And I have this thing about writing where I write down what I see and what I perceive around me. My hand's huge. Wow. But I would try to make it interesting. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Fremont, Nebraska, but there's a lot of, at that hour, there's a lot of meth heads, let's say, that congregate there. And a lot of people who are missing teeth and are very loud. And a lot of people who just came from a bar that's closed because after a long night of drinking, something greasy needs to go on top of that. So this one is from one of my journals, and it's basically like they always had a fly or something buzzing around. And, well, you'll see where my brain kind of goes with this. So drawing a blank. The cackles of the slovenly white trash annoys what semblance of coherency I've managed to hold on to in this late morning. Loud, southern-tinged idiocy with a vocal lilt that grates my ears with all the subtlety of a cheese grater on tender flesh. Morbidly obese females with bodies sculpted to resemble bloated toads, with facial complexions complementing the metaphorical comparison. Male companions who have yet to conceive of the grand concept of personal hygiene, or shirts with sleeves for that matter, no doubt captivated by the bright, shiny thing zipping around a racetrack, speech consisting of a system of grunts and two-syllable words. White trash at its finest. Sadly, perhaps considered mental giants to their brood. As I light another in a long line of nicotine-laced goodness, I am reminded of why I frequent this place. Here, I am a god among the insects. Only actual insects are less annoying. Having my fill of these primitive screwheads, I turn to the only other patron that fascinates my human spectating doldrums. Wilbur the fly buzzes around the glass of citrusy carbonated concoction in lazy arcs, content with his airborne syncrecy. I was really big in purple prose at the time, I should point out. So, big words. What say you, Fly? Has life been fulfilling for you? Wilbur lands at the edge of the long, emptied water glass. Life is meaningless, he says to me as his proboscis probes the rim. I consider his words for a minute. Are all flies as nihilistic as you are? I ask him. No, he says, still exploring the edge of the glass. Make no mistake, I'm not a nihilist, at least not in the traditional sense. I happen to be more of an existentialist. An existential fly. Fascinating. As I consider the possibility, Wilbur continues his discourse. I fly around after spending months as a larva. I seek food, fly around some more, and if I'm lucky enough to not be snacked on by something higher up on the food chain or squashed by one of your kind, I mate, I reproduce, and then I die. He takes off, buzzing around my litter of books that I have on the table. 3 to 8 days tops, and then I die. Well, seems a bit meaningless to me, really, I muse out loud, lighting up another cigarette. The couple sitting at an adjoining table are shooting me incredulous side glances. I pay them no heed. It's not like I have a lot of time to wallow around in self-pity about my lot in life, but what's your purpose? What's the point of your existence? Wilbur sighs. Then he lands on my arm. I make no move to brush him off. Now who's the existentialist, he says. I just don't see any reason for your existence. Now I need a reason to exist. As God's greatest creation, you're coming off as completely dense. So you believe in God. Who else but he would create something as pointless as a common housefly and give no explanation as to the purpose of creating me? I buzz around, I annoy a few people, and I die. The punchline, my caffeinated and rich friend, is that my purpose, my grand contribution to society, is to buzz around, annoy a few people, and then die. He takes off, buzzing around my head. He certainly is proving his point. I take a drag from my cancer stick and exhale a satisfactory plume of smoke. Oh, life is merely a joke? On a certain level, yes. Although I must admit I do have it better than the mayflies. They live only a couple of hours. No mouths or stomachs, you see. They emerge from their larval state, mate, then die. All in the course of an afternoon. You want to argue pointless existence? There you go. Again, I fail to see the point. Wilbur lets off an exasperated sigh. Then you never will, he says, before flying away to other exploits. I light another cigarette and take a long pull from my glass of replenished soda. The end.
I still
like that a lot. That was
one.
nice, man.
That makes me happy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait.
Forgot to unmute myself for a second.
Yeah, I started unmuting you. It's like, I can't. He muted himself. Damn it. No, I love that one when you told me to it.
That sounds good. Told me to it.
Told me to it.
You told it to me, and I still love that one. It's fun.
It is one of my favorites.
You have a great contemplating existence thing. There we go. I got it. It only took 3 tries. I've been noticing these. I've been noticing a bunch of different. I've been fist bump. Like I was fist bumping Jeremy, but we got to do it like this way now.
Oh, see, there we go.
Bam, bam.
Yeah, this is kind of okay.
You
There
gotta
we
be
go.
careful when you're fisting on live shows.
We're fingering right now.
You'd be surprised just how many people aren't into fisting these days. It's a
I know. You
Crazy.
figure after COVID, we'd be more into it.
yeah, we'd be right
More
back to fisting,
fisting.
you know. But yeah,
No.
But people, we're washing our hands more.
True.
It's a lesson that we learned.
or an after fisting, you know, you got to wash. I do.
Okay, I got very confused during COVID, and this is something that I think you'll understand, Jeremy.
I don't understand
Because
much,
you're as much of a hermit as I am, if not possibly just a little bit more. I only go out with my mother and sometimes James.
I sometimes have to go out because that's just the life of a human being. But, I try not to.
Don't you hate putting on pants?
And they make me do it just to go into the yard.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck is wrong with people?
Oh, dude, when I lived on an acreage, I would like go out and get my mail in my jammies or a robe or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just be like, fuck it. I'm on a country road.
I find
There's
if
a
you do your
difference between a man and a woman doing it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I've discovered that if you do your yard work naked, your neighbors will put up fences for you at no charge.
Okay.
And then sometimes they'll do the yard for you too. Like
James will remember this. We had a teacher that we went to school together. He was a year ahead of me, and Mr. Hanna loved to tell the stories about how like Jehovah's Witnesses would come up to his house, like out in the country. That he lived out in the country, and he would garden naked. And so, like, often they would show up as he was just wandering around his yard naked, and it put them in a very not so happy position because he would try to talk to them, and they would eventually go running off screaming. So,
I often wonder about his 2 daughters, how they turned out.
Yeah, dude would do shit like seriously. I know he was smoking pot while school lessons were going on because I know people who caught him out on the dock like smoking a joint. But I'm pretty sure he dropped acid too while he was teaching because there were times when like we were taking tests in his class and he'd sit in the background and he'd do shit like he'd turn off all the lights and sit by the one glass door that went outside so he would have some light and he'd read Stephen King stories and stuff to us.
Yeah.
And every now and then he would just, he was a very tall man. Like, okay, it's like you, Jeremy, only with long dark hair.
More of a
luxurious hair. He started going bald. It was like,
well, he had very long hair. He was losing he was much older than you and had gone pretty far back. But
Hopefully
But
he
he would
still
always,
is much older than me, because that would be
yeah.
weird.
I do hope he's still alive. Yeah. But he would stand there and he would like put his hands at his side and be like pencil straight in a dress shirt and pants, and then like lower his head and start mooing like a cow, like absolutely. It wasn't just like a moo. Did he do this to you guys too?
Yes.
He would just moo for a while, and
Moo.
then it'd be done, and he'd go sit back down at his desk.
Hey, we all
And
have
that-
our moments.
He
But-
was an inspiration for me.
But
Sounds
the
like a
acid-
safe schizophrenic, you know. So
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
his wife was the art teacher, and she was neurotic as fuck.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but the other thing, the thing where I'm saying he's on acid is because like he'd sit back at the store with the I guess there were two of them, but the one he would cover up most of the time. But he's sitting back in the very back reading a paper, and I was doing one of my tests. He taught social studies, so history. It was at that point in time, and I saw this movement going on. And I like looked back at him, and he has his paper in front of him, like sitting down on the desk, and he was chasing something over his head that was not there. Like if it had been so much as a fly, I would have seen it, how close I was sitting to him. And he's just like going nuts over it. And I look over at him and he finally like realizes somebody's staring and he makes eye contact with me. And then he just winks and goes, shh, and pulls up his paper again. And so I'm like, yep, he's fucking tripping balls. All right. Let's hear it from Mr. Hannah. He looked exceptionally like if you ever saw the Domino's pizza commercials back in the day where they were like, Andrew, get a box. What can I do with a box? Origami. And he's like, what's that? It's a pterodactyl. Caw, caw, caw. He looked exactly like that guy.
Hold on, I gotta do the sound.
That's my
Yes,
sound.
before y'all ask, I know those crows. Those are crows. But when we started doing the SAS earlier this year, and Aki and I decided that was going to be our pterodactyl sound, and because I'm a writer, I can say what that fucking sound is. So we changed it, and it was a pterodactyl when we were talking about SAS, but it's still a crow when we're talking to Dell. So it's a double sound, and now crows sound like pterodactyls because fuck you.
So I hate to bring this up, and since you brought up crows, what do you guys think about the new Crow movie that they're doing?
I had no idea they were doing a new Crow movie. So
they're
that's what I
doing
think.
It just
Is
post-production.
Is it a remake, a reboot, or is it a continuation, a prequel, sequel? What is it?
It's got a Skarsgård in there.
Oh, well, then I'll be watching it. Which one is
Okay.
it?
Pennywise.
Bill.
Okay.
They'll be playing, the crow.
I'm good with that.
Here's my issues. We only had 2 good crow movies so far. Just 2. Only 2.
Yeah.
I love the first one, obviously. Like, I can't imagine anyone not seeing that movie and not really enjoying the fuck out of it.
You're telling me you didn't love the third one? Come on.
No. Okay. I said there's only two good
works for you.
If anybody thought the second one was actually good, I'm sorry. That was a cluster fucking nonsense is what 2 was. And then
I don't even remember watching 2.
Yeah. Who cares?
I actually disagree with you there. It was messy, but it still has its moments.
It did have some good moments. I don't disagree with you there. It had some good moments.
They basically remade the first one only with slight changes.
But way artsier, like art house shit. That a lot of unnecessary, superfluous shit. But
Were they French?
Well,
yes, but also it had Iggy Pop in there,
and that was good.
So.
He's terrifying.
That third one, in some ways, in my opinion, it was the first of them that went direct to DVD only.
Oh yeah,
that was the closest to the comics because this guy, he didn't fucking know martial arts. He was a normal ass guy that a tragedy happened to, and he lost his fucking mind in the process, and he did it.
Okay,
like that was the story was great. Now the rest of that movie, the acting and a lot of the rest of it, garbage. But the story on that one.
Okay, I want to know your thoughts about the fourth one. And go.
So a friend of mine was on set for that. She was an extra. That was the first time she unfortunately had the displeasure of meeting Edward Furlong.
Oh,
He was in 4. She said David Boreanaz was actually a god. He was a thrill to have on set, and she really enjoyed meeting him. Furlong made that entire movie, the whole everything, the background, every day he was on set, absolute misery. And even she is. It's the only one of the bigger movies that she'd been an extra on that she tries not to claim on her resume because of how utterly bad that movie was.
well, this is also a movie that boasts Tara. What's her name? My brain just quit. I want to say Tara Strong, but that's the voice actor.
Wasn't it Reed?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I know. Yeah, I got her name on the tip of my tongue too. Hold on, I'll find out.
Okay,
right
she was in
Yeah, I
Sharknado.
can't type. I sound like
Tara Reid. Yeah.
Tara Reid, and also Dennis Hopper, and that one singer.
Yep. The cast alone, even with an addict, Furlong, should have made this movie good. Like this movie should have been at least a halfway decent.
Here's the scene where my brain just went, screw you. I'll be over here. You can keep watching the movie, but I'll be over here playing Minecraft. That scene was with David Boreanaz's character doing the whole coronation, like, okay, let's do this. I've got deviled eggs, devil's food cake, and I'm like, this. Okay, we're going for a theme here, are we? All right.
And honestly, we would have never had 3 and 4. The original plan was to actually do the Shades of Insanity Crow with Trent Reznor. Trent was going to be the Crow, and they were going to do the storyline proper. That fell through. Then they were going to do the oh my god, it was like the tough streets of like New York gang style shit, and it run DMX. That's when DMX was going to be the Crow, and then they canceled that one, and then they were going to do the female Crow finally, and didn't even get as far as the casting. Like they didn't even officially cast, and then it fell.
Well,
the Jason Momoa Crow, which they were definitely going to do no matter what.
Holy shit! Yeah, they could have done that.
That was the last version that failed only a couple years before the one they that's now coming in.
Well, there's the one that Rob Zombie was going to do.
That was the one with Trent Reznor.
Really? Okay.
Trent Reznor's very nice.
I would have watched
also
that.
very short.
Same.
Yeah.
I would have watched the fuck out of that. I'm not a huge zombie fan after his last few movies and shows, but
which few?
The Munsters.
See, I love the Munsters because it made me feel like how I felt when I was a kid watching the TV show. It's just as cheesy.
See, I miss the Munsters from the kid as being a kid, and this was weird.
It was my mom.
It was a prequel.
My mom watched all of it.
Believe me, I was like, wow.
I was reveling in every second of this. It was a great movie.
Wasn't
everybody? Yeah.
Did you like 31?
That's one of my favorites that he's done.
31? I don't think I've seen that.
That's one of my favorites that he's ever done. Like straight up, 31 was brilliant. I loved it. It was cheap. It was easy to do. It's not super inspired, but his cast and the dialogue made that movie a great movie.
Yeah, if there could just be who's my guy?
Richard Brake. Doomhead.
If I could watch just Richard Brake's part from 31, like just cut all the scenes that he's not in out. Oh my god, I didn't think much of Richard Brake because my first experience with him was watching Death Machine.
He was good
with mice. Not as it was a terrible movie. And they had 5 different releases of it because it was banned in multiple countries for various parts of it. But if you can watch the full movie, James, I know that you've watched it, and it's Brad Dourif is the thing, and he's my secret boyfriend. Like he doesn't know it yet, but we're meant to be together, even though he's in his 70s. I'm great with that. He's hot. He's awesome. And he had so much fun with that movie. And it was like he and the female lead did a really good job. And Richard Brake did okay, but his part was cheesy. So it didn't really give him much of a chance to act.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, eh. And then wasn't he also in either the first or second Rob Zombie's Halloween? He was like driving a truck and then got killed by Michael Myers.
The first one, yeah. The 2000.
Yeah, so we didn't have much of a a role in that one.
But he'd already done.
But then I saw 31, and I was just like, holy fuck, this guy is like terrifying. He's amazing. He can really get into a character.
And if you haven't seen it, honestly, this came out last year. Barbarian. He was really fucking good in that movie too.
I have it on my hard drive. I've been meaning to get to it.
It's worth. He's worth it.
I hear it's one of those great movies that after you're done watching, you go, "The fuck did I just watch?"
Honestly, that's another one I watched immediately after I watched it and thought about it for a couple hours. Then I immediately watched it again. I'm like that though. Like I catch little details and I want to watch it again to catch more, and then I spin out from there.
I keep getting really excited about all of the people that Brad Dourif is, or not Brad Dourif, he's just one of them. But the Rob Zombie keeps adding into his cast of the people because he has Malcolm McDowell now. He has Brad. He's had mostly for forever.
He's had Malcolm since 2007.
He's had his wife and pretty much everything.
Yeah. Honestly, like, listen, as a filmmaker,
and she's hot.
I would too if I had, hello.
Like, I do a lot of
Sherry Moon Zombie is my wife.
My fucking job.
If you find my IMDb right now, what you're going to see is I've done a lot of like indie films with a lot of the same people. The reason for that is we found a film family, and anytime one of us got in a film, we'd like the casting directors, the director himself, to hire all our friends for this job. And now, if any of us make a production, no matter how big or small it is, that's what we grab each other, because it's hard to form a family in the film, and film is a hard fucking industry to be in. It's a nightmare. It's a damn nightmare. And having a couple people that you've been through that nightmare with before, it's like, it's not like going to war, but it's the same, like the camaraderie thing. So when you find that group that make you happy while you're doing film, you want to hang on to that. And if I had his money and got to make bigger shit, I'd make you guys come and be in shit too. Like, it's just straight up. Like, you do these things with the people you love, and people hit him hard on this. How's that different from Monty Python? How's that different from all these other cultural things that we fucking love that do the same thing? There's no difference. He's doing
Tim Burton and Johnny Depp and his wife.
Yeah. So all these people we love and revere do this, and a lot of these same people bash him for doing it, and that's like it doesn't make sense to me. I like that he's happy and that he does this with people he loves. It makes me enjoy his movies more, because you can see that the actors are enjoying themselves, and that comes through on camera, man. You can tell if an actor enjoyed their fucking time on that set or not. No matter how good of an actor they are, there's always tells, and those people love those fucking films and working with it.
Yeah.
Hellblazer, I am very sorry that you hurt your ankle diving off stage. I hope that it was a fun time though. I will let Hexus and Akia know. We're broadcasting here, but they aren't actually on the show right now. So.
Now, quick question for everybody: has anybody here seen Bone Tomahawk?
Oh yeah,
movie,
dude.
So
Bone what?
Bone Tomahawk. No. Great Western movie. It's described as horror, but not really. It's bloody. It features some of the most ingenious Native American designs I've seen. And I was just thinking, you guys were talking about Rob Zombie and everything. I would love to see Rob Zombie direct a Western.
Oh, that would be kind of dope.
Yeah. That would
I actually really have a big love for old school Westerns and stuff like that. It's kind of a strange thing. My wife sits there anytime I put something like that on. She's just like, what do you like? Netflix just recently came out with a few Westerns and stuff, and I hit them up hard. I was just like, these are great. What are you talking about? Old spaghettis and everything. Like,
did you catch the interview with Roy Rogers' granddaughter on Still Token?
I did.
That was awesome.
The first part of it, yeah. I was kind of shocked that like she was alive. I was like, wow, I didn't think anybody from that era was around still.
Oh God, now I'm forgetting her name.
Shirley Temple.
No, it was Dale Evans, wasn't it?
Dale Evans, yeah, that was his wife.
Yeah, I had to tell my mom because my grandparents, grandma in particular, were huge fans of all the Westerns, and so when I was caregiving for them, every grandma owned the remote, and I watched so many goddamn Westerns. it would drive you insane. But got to see all of them, Roy Rogers and all the rest. And then her sitting there talking about like, yeah, Grandma used to make stew out of whatever Grandpa shot that week, and they would serve it to us. And we sat at the kids' table in the kitchen so they couldn't see us, and we'd try to feed it to the dogs because it was terrible stew, and sometimes even the dogs wouldn't eat it. So I had to like shove it down the sink in the garbage disposal. I was just like, so Dale Evans can't cook, huh? I'm telling my mom, this is just like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Grandma could cook, so, but she wasn't in movies. Hellblazer real quick. I had a blast at Chaos and Carnage. Nice. And hi, Nadine. We love you. Nadine is one of our bestest.
You missed my story by the time I stole a cop car, but I'll tell you about it sometime. Don't worry.
Or technically, you didn't.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
It was your love of donuts.
Yeah, the donut did it.
Like my story about getting charged with trying to blow up a gas station. I won't go into that one tonight. But
that one too. Speaking of stories,
I got a lot of community service out of that one. But so stories, though, we should actually go back to the.
Yeah.
We've been on for almost 2 hours and we've told one story.
Two. We told two.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Yeah, going around. Okay, Jeremy, would you like to be next, or would you like me to hop on and do one?
I'll keep on in the back seat here for now.
Okay.
Not a problem.
So last time we were going to do this, I was talking up a lot about the fact that I had this shoe story to do, and the whole point behind it is that one of my friends, who's a photographer, took up a project where he was photographing either shoes that were tied together and like hanging over. It was all abandoned shoes, so they were either hanging over wire or like the cowboy boots stuck on a fence post, or just random shoes on the ground everywhere, And so he would take pictures of them. I would take pictures of them and send them to him. And then he wanted to make a book out of it. And he was like, okay, so what about if we write stories about the shoes? And I'm like, I'm good with that. I can write stories about a shoe. And I gotta see if did I put it up? I don't think I did. Okay, give me 1 second. Never mind. This actually makes that much difference. Oh, there we go. So anyway, he was doing this whole thing about having shoes have conversations with people. And I thought he wanted to have like really in-depth, long stories. And he was just like, no, I just like, it'd be a couple of stories, like 2 shoes hanging over a wire. And it'd be like this long existential debate of a couple paragraphs. And then he would suddenly be like, yeah, and what are you talking about, Joe? Or who are you talking to, Frank? The other shoe talking to him. So I'm pulling up this picture real quick because I thought I had it set up and I don't know where it is right now. So I'm making sure that I have it. But we were doing all these different stories about shoes, and I would come up with like these really long shoe stories. And he was just always amazed. So I sold this whole setup last time. And then I realized that I wasn't actually doing the shoe story because I didn't have that one saved. Because I'm kind of a moron when it comes to a lot of things. So this time I'm not giving you just one, but 2 shoe stories. Because I happened to find something else in my stuff that also relates to shoes. So sorry I went through all of that. I'm going to show you the shoe that started this story that I should have had loaded beforehand, and we just lost Raz. But this is the shoe that was abandoned in a parking garage that we saw after we'd gone out doing some photography stuff because we were getting some sunset pictures from the top of the parking garage. And we saw this shoe just sadly laying there. So this is the shoe for y'all. And Here is my story about the shoe. It is from the shoe's point of view. I remember the first time she put us on. A few other women had considered us and tried taking us on a spin, but none of them decided to buy us. She slid me onto her left foot, followed by my mate on her right, sauntered to the edge of the aisle, spun abruptly, and her eyes flashed approval as she admired her legs in the mirror. She bought us and wore us out that very night. She knew how to wear us, too. Heels aren't for everyone. We change the way one walks. We enhance shapely calves, emphasize the butt, straighten up the spine, and make one thrust their chest out a bit when worn properly. And, of course, we add a bit of height. She never simply walked. She strode. She stalked. She prowled. Every step precise, deliberate. She was fierce, direct, confident. She was regal. When she wore us, we became an extension of her. Each move she made perfectly manipulating every resource at her disposal. Her clothing, the lighting, the temperature. In short, she was wonderful. It was like being a tool used by a master. Rembrandt's paintbrush, Wilde's pen. At rest in the closet, we discovered that she owned a great many fine things. We weren't the highest of her heels, but she rarely needed to resort to anything too high, and she, though it would have been a thing of beauty to witness, never wore stilettos. Sheer silk stockings or a perfectly painted toe peeking through our open fronts with bare legs, paired with a mid-thigh skirt, were all she needed to dominate the room, be it at work or out in the town. The entire wardrobe agreed. She was the perfect owner. There was an underlying fear that we all shared, however. Her daughter, a bitter and comparatively slovenly woman who lived under the same roof, would on occasion be encouraged by her to try and improve her image. At times, she would loan her various of us. They always came back with horror stories. The clothing didn't need to worry as much. She was a bit larger in size than her, and many things simply wouldn't fit her. However, they were close on shoe sizes. Shoes that were returned had been bent and scuffed, grimy on the bottoms, and complaining about being worn into dingy clubs and gatherings in filthy homes. It was tonight that that vile woman came to the closet and snatched us. Wearing no stockings and having ragged nails, she shoved her feet into us, a tight fit that stretched our leather painfully, and she immediately pulled us off and bent us back and forth to loosen us up. Thrust back into service, we tried to adjust to her awkward gait as she shuffled around. The night consisted of sitting in a dark bar while her long skirt hid any help we could have provided her legs, had she bothered to utilize us properly. The floor was sticky, and she kicked her feet against the bar and the stool, leaving scuffs and scratches on us. Finally, the bar closed, and as she stumbled drunkenly with her friends, preparing to accompany them to one of their homes, while the vulgar thing staggered through the parking garage to her friend's car, she tripped going through the door, and in a childish fit of rage, she pulled me from her foot and began spouting some nonsense about the patriarchy trying to control her by forcing her to wear us. She then proceeded to tear my top half and my soul from me, discarding me to the ground to the cheering of her friends. What happened to the mate and the rest of me, I do not know. Overall, my existence was good. I was allowed to grace her foot for over a year, was a part of her arsenal. It allowed me to be a part of a living work of art as well as an audience to it. Lying here, with my soul ripped from me, I only hope that she'll miss me, and perhaps finally the fate of the others that I spent my time in the closet with may be changed, that she'll no longer allow her things to be used by her, someone as soulless as I now am. And that is the shoe story.
Bravo.
I really like that one. That was awesome. After all that buildup of you not telling a shoe story, we finally get to hear it.
So was it worth the buildup? The shoe story?
I enjoyed it. It was worth it.
Awesome.
I enjoyed that immensely. that was really rather good about a shoe, and I'm kind of confused with myself now.
I see the weird thing for me when he started all this is that like I don't buy shoes. Like the last shoe I've bought a couple of pair of sandals for the summer, and most of them are like kind of orthopedic. And like the last pair of shoes I bought intentionally for style purposes were Doc Martens back in like high school. I never was the like, ooh, I've got 40 pairs of shoes, which I thought was a girl thing until I saw Brandon and Yo-Yo being like shoe buddies with their like, oh yeah, I have this pair of sneakers that I wear like twice a year.
I was like,
that was crazy.
I never knew anybody to be shoe people until I met Brandon and Yo-Yo, and I was just like, I mean, I collect all sorts of stuff, so like I get it, but it's like one of those things. I'm like, you buy a pair of shoes that are say like $400 and you wear them for like an hour every few months, and you barely wear them because you put all these protections on them so that they don't. I'm like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no? If I spend $300 or $400 on a pair of shoes, it's because they have arch support and you know, like they aren't attractive.
Yeah, they're a pair of steel toes for myself. Like,
yeah,
if I'm spending that much, they've got to be like Chippewas, like something really insane.
They're going to last a long time, and I can wear them without stickers on the bottom.
Them, actually, yeah.
Okay, no. It's my turn to buzz out for just a sec. I will be right back. Got it. We're longer than we thought.
Have fun.
I'm now in control of the horizontal and the.
Excellent.
Yes. I'm not gonna get sued if I go outer limits, but I really want to. I don't really want to get sued. I really want to go to outer limits. Let me specify that. Suing me would be bad. All right, guys. So we've heard some interesting stories today so far. We've been in a lot of different directions today. Jeremy, did you want to throw in, or do you want me to talk for a while longer, sir? You don't even have to throw in today if you don't want to. You can just
my nerve. I have like 3 stories that I keep in backup all the time. I've been telling them to my kids since they were born and stuff. They're mainly comedy kind of things.
Yeah.
One of them mixes a little horror, but they're really just like weird, and really they're all 3 kind of, well, 2 of them are pretty much very much the same story. I just changed the endings of them for them.
Nice.
But yeah, tonight I'll sit back and probably on the next one,
all right, yeah,
throw down with you guys.
We're gonna do one that's just not horror. Like tonight we're doing like horror, but we're also doing a lot of other shit. Anytime, dude. Like I'm just happy you're here.
Yeah, I always need something to do.
Yeah, man. So I'll let you guys choose. I can tell you another weird, wacky, drug-related story, or I can go horror. I'm good for either. Any preferences?
I have heard almost. Well, I'm not saying almost because I know you have a catalog that is like centuries deep worth of boxing. But I haven't heard you tell too many just fun, lighthearted drug stories, and the cop car thing was awesome. That's what I'm voting for.
All right.
I'm going to have to go with horror, but that's where my heart lies.
Usually that's all I do. Like most of the time, that's what I do. So
right.
You're tiebreaker here, Jeremy. Do you want horror, or do you want me to tell another random hilarious drug story?
I like some horror. Let's go for it.
All right, here's what I'll do. I'll do horror, but then the next episode, I promise that I'll do 2 again, but I'll do one of the drug stories and the horror next time too.
There is horror that you can get from doing drugs.
Oh, I've got some of those. All right, let me see. I want to come up with one. I think of one that I actually haven't told Del before, because she's heard a lot of my stories about the house I grew up in. That's usually what I tend to do a lot of storytelling about. You've heard of some of the extraneous stories and adventures. I think I got one. Yeah. This, for a very long period of my time, and still on occasion, I have done, and I'm sure inevitably will do again, a lot of paranormal investigating. I belong to a group known as the Keepers. I don't really want to talk a whole lot about that organization. It's like a separate thing. It's not like a secret weird organization, but I just, out of respect, I don't want to talk a lot about that. One of the things that I did a lot was releasing people, and sometimes things that you found out weren't people. A lot of the issues with hauntings and things like that, a good 9 times out of 10, if it's not easily debunkable by pipes and all kinds of different things like that, because you guys know I'm a person that wants to believe things. I'm a person that wants to believe that big things exist, that God exists, that the gods and goddesses of all mythologies exist. Fucking if it's out there, I like to live in a world where everything exists and I have endless possibilities. That makes me get through the day a little easier. So, of the times when I've actually experienced truly paranormal things, and as much as I tell you guys a lot about this shit, there are a million stories I have that involves absolutely nothing happening and everything being bullshit. I got plenty of those too, but those aren't as much fun to tell. This particular story, there's an old, what used to be a schoolhouse in this one area of Ohio. Again, I try not to tell you guys what cities they are because these are places that you can go and still exist, and I don't want you to get arrested, and I don't want you to get hurt because a lot of these buildings are abandoned and disrepair, and I would feel terrible about myself if something bad happened to you. But it is in with driving distance of me at any point in time where I lived in Ohio. I'll at least say that. This old house had a really weird history. This old schoolhouse. Years ago, there was a school shooting there, and it was the janitor. The janitor had been being treated like utter fucking garbage. He was the kind of guy that barely made it through grade school himself, and then his mother had passed, who was his only family. He kind of eventually just kind of ran around the streets for a long time, and they gave him a job to clean shit when he got a little older. And he lived in what they called the old janitor's shack behind the building. And that's, he'd keep all the tools he needed, the mowers, that kind of stuff back there. But he had a little cot back there. One day, again, and this is on record around here. If you want more specific information, you can message me, and I will give that to you guys if you're listening or any of you. I'm just, for your average person, I don't want you to go traipsing around and shit. This guy lost it that day, and for some reason, again, it's still not known to this day what drove him to this. He did not have. He was a little bit of a drunk, but he didn't have like any known mental illnesses. Generally, he was a very nice guy, cared very much about the kids. Like, he was the one person on staff the kids generally felt more comfortable going to when something was going on with their life because he was just nice and he'd lived life and he'd seen what it was like for a kid on the streets, on their own. They're young in the 50s and 60s. He didn't want these kids to end up that way. But one day he lost his shit. He came out of the shack. He killed all 11 of the kids on the playground. He went inside. The other 12 kids that were inside a very small school. It was multi-floor, but there was only actually 4 classrooms. It was really small. The class sizes were like 4 or 5 of different grades. So he went in. He killed the 12 kids that were inside. And what he believed to be all 10 of the staff members, except for one of the staff members, survived, which was the secretary to the principal. She's how we know a lot of the information we know about this place, about what happened that day. She was the only survivor. Fast forwarded probably like a decade after that, this place is legendary because anytime you drove by this place in the 70s and 80s, in a laundry story, you drive by this old schoolhouse, which by then was already converted into a historical society, which is kind of still what it is now, but it's more of a dump house because no one goes to meetings or actually fucking does anything, which is sad. Legendary. You can drive past here any time of day or night, and you see shadow people walking past the windows around the fucking clock, right? It's a pretty astonishing fucking thing because a lot of people know about shadow men, shadows of mortis, shadows of death, whatever you want to call them. Lots of different names. They're the equivalent to shadows that are so thick you can't see through them when you look at them, or if you look at a wall, you see a shadow following you, but there's no one actually there. Projected shadow or a solid mass that looks a humanoid shape. It was a big deal. So then when I was growing up in the 80s, I heard about it more. And then when I really started doing a lot of this investigating, this was something that I'd have, friends that were older than me, because my friends were always sometimes up to a decade older than me. Like, we'd go out and party and hanging out. Like, hey, man, let's drive by that old place. It's got a legend. Sure enough, every time I've ever been to this place, day, night, afternoon, morning, it doesn't matter when, what time of year. You sit there for long enough, you'll see the shadow go across, stop, and seemingly facing you, because again, they don't have faces, and just tracking your movement, and then it walks. It's a really normal thing. Once I got a little bit braver in doing investigations, it's one of the places where I wanted to go because I thought, again, being part of this organization and understanding that sometimes spirits just need to know they're dead. Sometimes someone that just needs to know, hey, you're dead. You can go. You can move on. You can be at peace. And a lot of even bad things that happen are often solved by just releasing and giving the whatever's there the permission to just rest. So I thought, oh, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm now 17 at this point. So that we're talking like 99. Yeah, 1999. And by now, I think I know everything there is to know about the paranormal. This is this phase of my life, like these couple of years where I'm a badass. There's nothing that's going to scare me or piss me off. I can handle anything. I can fuck with, tomes that I'm finding and reading out loud, like Evil Dead style. I am bullet fucking proof to the paranormal. That's what I believe. And this is one of those times where I had my ass handed to me mentally, and it scarred me for life. And this is a building that I'm still terrified to visit, but I make myself do it every year just to prove to myself that I can, I guess. So we go to this place, middle of the day. Look back outside. Sure enough, you see the shadow. Stop, look at you. And my buddy was like, dude, there's no way. Like, I'm going to go to that side of the building. We're going to split it up and see if we can confuse it. I stay there. It moves, starts going from window to window to like find my friend to stare, and then back to me, and then back. I'd never done this before. I'd never tried this experiment. And then we had a couple other people do it. And before long, this thing was just going window to window, like it was zooming to window, or there were suddenly more of them because now I'm not the only one seeing one in my window. Now there's like 3 or 4 different ones in different parts of the upper and lower staring out windows at us. There was only ever believed to be one. No one had ever done anything like this to know different. So then we realized, okay, this is the kids. Maybe it's the kids. Maybe there's a lot more spirits here than we believe. Maybe they all need to be released, and that'll solve this problem. Cool. There's no way in this building. No way. Except for the very front door, which was at the time still kind of used for historical business. Like they had a meeting room downstairs. But it was locked. But then we find this side entrance. It is covered stairs that start at the ground level outside. It's got walls in the ceiling, but no door that blocks them off. And you went up that way to the side of the building, and there was a way to get in, we thought. Okay, cool, let's check it out. So we go up the stairs, right? We're going up the stairs, we're looking around. Terrible smell. Like rotten copper. That's what we're smelling. And it's fucking overwhelming. Like my buddy actually had to leave and throw up out in the little parking lot off to the side because the stench was that ridiculously powerful, just ridiculously powerful. And I just kind of, shirt over my nose, just kind of braved it. And I opened the door and it wasn't even locked. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. I just opened it. And the first thing you see, there are dead animals everywhere. Ammunition everywhere, pinned to the walls. I'm seeing rabbits. I saw part of a deer carcass. There were some possums in there. There was a raccoon, a bunch of squirrels, just like their tails tied together and hung on a wall, but they're all dead. And it looks like someone has just taken animals in here and smashed their head Gallagher style and painted the room. There was even 2 canvases on artist easels where it looked like that's exactly what they had done with these animals. And I'm like, okay, this is fucked. There's more going on here than we realized. My buddy's like, listen, it's broad daylight. We got to get the fuck out. We'll come back later with the crew, with the cameras, and we'll do something. We'll come back. I'm like, all right. So we actually wait a whole week. The next week we go to this place, and we notice there's these construction materials everywhere, right? All these construction materials. I'm like, oh fuck, we lost our chance. We waited a whole week. We have now lost our chance. Let's see what's going on. And my buddy's pissed, and was not driving, and he actually had something to drink, which usually we did not allow drinking of any kind. Like a little bit of weed was okay, but we did not allow like even hallucinogens or alcohol or anything involved in these investigations because I can't believe anything you're fucking saying if I know what you're on. It kind of defeats the fucking purpose to be that inebriated and try and learn something about the afterlife, or maybe there's nothing there at all or whatever, but still, it's respect. And he's like, I'm going to take one of these. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck ever. So he actually stole one of the old sinks that came out of this building. Stole it. We had no idea. Put it in my friend's truck. There was this really cool spot. It was like a really small, it's like a mini airport, like a private airport. Like hardly any planes are there. They got their own little hangars. These little, like tiny little private planes go back and forth all the time. There's this place in the middle of a cornfield that had this giant circular concrete pad for no reason. You drive right to it. So we went there. And we did this often. We didn't want to go. We wanted to chill. There was corn everywhere, like literally, like just all around you. Just lay on the ground and look at the planes go by. It was really nice. So first things first, we decide we're going to go into the wood. We're going to go into the cornfield that day. I don't know why. We just decided we were going to go into the fucking cornfield. And things start getting weird because just as we're going to go into the cornfield, we realize we didn't have cell phones with flashlights back then, guys. Like if you're younger and you're more modern, yes, we didn't always have cell phones, and the ones we did had none of them had flashlights built in. So we needed flashlights, and my friend Jen always kept them in her car, in the trunk of her car. We go to open it, and we realize there's an old, like ancient ass porcelain sink. Trying to figure out where it came from. I was like, oh, I forgot to tell you guys I took that. What the fuck, dude? Like we're pissed at him because this was an item that came out of this place. You don't do that anyway to someone's property, but something that might be connected to something, even more so, don't fucking touch it. So they go to move it, and there's suddenly blood. A decent amount of blood all over my friend's work clothes, and she had to drive an hour and a half the very next morning to go back immediately to work. We had to figure that out later. That's not an exciting story. We washed the clothes later for her or whatever. But that was weird. And this was the kind of sink that still had the drain that you could look down in there and see nothing in there. But now there's suddenly, it was enough to kind of splash over her shirt. It wasn't like a gallon of blood or nothing crazy, but there was blood that had come out of the sink under her clothing. Old blood. So wet. We thought it was paint. We did everything until the guy that grabbed it took it and actually licked it. It was like, yeah, that's blood. Which I wanted to vomit, but whatever. I'm not going to go around and lick blood. So we're all shaken, but we're at the cornfield, so fuck it. So we split up like geniuses with see where the corn, how far we get out in the cornfield to fuck with each other, whatever. We weren't being smart. We were no longer investigating, so now we were smoking more. We were smoking more herb. And I light a joint. I walk off into a random direction in this giant cornfield. Occasional plane, but again, it's not a very busy place. It's like a couple nights a week. It was a little bit busy. So I'm walking on, and every time I'm walking past the corn, like I bump into it, I feel like a tug on my shirt. And in my brain, I'm like, yeah, I'm just walking a little too close to the stalks. I need to, walk a little slower, pay a little more attention when I'm going. So I start going super slow, get myself probably a good 3 to 4 feet in the very center of the rows. So I'm not, this was a very like sparsely, like widely planted field. And still, every stalk I go by, something is grabbing my shirt. It is not me rubbing against something. And I'm now feeling tugged the farther I go to a point where I get grabbed and yanked back about 4 or 5 steps. And it's sparsely planted enough in this particular field that it's not like someone's hiding in the corn, dude. Like no one could hide in the corn where this was. And then you see something sidestep corn. It was very similar to that thing I saw in the hot tub that one time when I was talking to Dell, and she's told this story before, how I was saying something like stepped out from behind the tree and then it turned sideways and I couldn't see it anymore for a little bit. And that was before we heard the mimics, before you guys heard the voices. It was like that, but it was in the fucking corn. And I see it for a second, and then it's gone. And then my buddy starts screaming. So I run towards his voice. My other 2 friends are running to the voice. 3 of us meet up around the time to see our friend, who is sitting on the ground somehow being drugged backwards. And I'm losing my shit. Like, what the fuck is going on? Because I've already seen that one glimpse. We just start running after him. And I say running, but we're not running. It's not like a horror film where he's getting jerked at like 50 fucking miles an hour the other direction. If I had to guess the speed, we're talking maybe 5 miles an hour at best. And that's being liberal. Like we're like not even quite jogging after him to figure out what's going on. So one of my friends jumps, grabs him by the foot, and it stops. He stops being moved. Everybody's still. And so now everybody is still. And we're looking around trying to figure this all out. And I noticed that there are old, like rotted, dried out stalks, like all connected to like the back of his shoulders, his whole back. It's like it's wrapped around his chest a couple times, where it looks like corn stalks somehow magically came to life and encircled his upper torso to yank him. And whatever it was, he said he doesn't know what it was, but it made a sound like it sounded like a weird kind of a version of a scream to him that we didn't even hear the moment we yanked him free. So it ripped off, presumably whatever this was, this husk thing. And we got in the car and we fucking left. We're terrified. We've also got this bloody sink in the back of the car that came out of this place. So we are absolutely just losing our complete shit. We go to a local church. His my friend driving, she's like, let's just drop this thing off at a church. It's going to be equipped to deal with this. We're not equipped to deal with this right now. It'll be blessed. It's fine. I'm like, that's fucking dumb. And she's like, we're fucking doing it. She's pissed. It's her car. It's her rules. So we drop off this fucking bloody sink, old porcelain sink, on the front steps of a local church. Now, this sink made it to their newsletter the following weekend. Again, different story. Nothing ever happened beyond that, except for it ended up in a bloody sink ended up on their newsletter because they found it and turned it into police who Nothing ever came of it. So again, all these weird things are happening around this property and things taken from this property. There's other little things too that happen over time. Over a period of about 2 months, we keep driving by this place. We keep driving by it. We're still seeing the shadow. We're talking about going up those side steps again. And that couple months goes by, and then we do it. We decide to say, fuck it. They aren't doing the construction we thought that they were doing, so we're gonna go. We go. There's like 5 of us now. We walk up these steps, and again, that smell is still fucking there. And I'm like, God damn it! If they're doing work on this place, how did they not find this? How did they not see this when they were here yanking sinks and shit? It's not possible. So we go up there, and the door is barricaded from the inside. From the inside. And we're like, okay, well, they must have done something. My buddy's like, no, I can get into this. I can get in it. So he busts a hole in the very center of this fucking old door, reaches his hand in and feels. He's like, oh, yeah, somebody just braced it. I can do this. He goes to move it, and he starts to move the brace, and then he starts screaming, and I see his shoulder yanked right against the door so hard, it split the top right of the door frame and almost like ripped the door frame down. He said, it's got me. And I'm seeing him struggle. And the first thing I'm thinking about is, the motherfucker is pranking us right now. It's not going to be the first time one of us pretended we reached our arm into a hole and someone was grabbing it. That's the thing fucking people do still to this day. Even in movies, you see this all the time. This is a normal fucking joke. He's fucking with us. And then I start looking at his face, and his face is going white. Like, white. And then he's pissing himself now. And we can see it. And then we start taking things seriously. We start grabbing him, trying to pull, and we can feel like a major force yanking him back towards the door to the point where we finally jerk him away. He runs down the stairs screaming, doesn't even stop at the car, just runs. And we're right near heavy woods, plus a back road that leads to a highway. He hit the back road and took off. We didn't see him again until another 3 hours when we accidentally drove past him looking for him and got him to get back in the car and leave. But so me and the other 4 people are, what the fuck? One of them chases off after him, ends up stopping in the car, and we picked him up when we came back down too. And so me and the other 2 are just standing there, like staring at this hole. My friend's like got the flashlight out, like kind of shining towards the hole, starting to get closer to the hole. And I'm like, dude, put my hand on his chest, and I pull him back. It's like, you just saw him. I mean, he was getting fucking yanked. His arm was in there, and you're gonna put your face in this fucking hole. How smart is that? He's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, I'm fucking right. So I get him pulled back, and I'm kind of looking around, but like from a distance, shining the light in, I'm not seeing stuff. And then an arm shoves its way out the fucking door. An arm that has been partially filleted in 3 different sections of an arm, so you can see flesh with no skin in some places. And someone just starts screaming and banging on the inside of that door. That arm is yanking and swiping at us. And then suddenly you see one eye, like down there where the arm is coming out of. If you look, it's also like whoever it is pressing their face to the hole the same time they've got their arm out of it. So you see one bloodshot ass eye right at the hole, and the arm just reaching, trying to grab, and just shrieking. Not, I'm scared, I'm in pain, screaming, but something fucking unholy, shrieking so loud that it's triggering like just tones that are a much higher register than any other human being, even a female child, higher tones than they can hit. And it is earth shattering, and my face just starts hurting. I remember this pressure just building up in my head from this fucking sound that I thought my ears were gonna burst. By the time we got to the car, because I was stunned. I didn't even feel like I could move on my own. I was frozen. One of my other friends was frozen too. Again, the other one also took off. By the time we came down, we had small amounts of blood right here at the earlobe. So it wasn't like an excessive amount, but I'm sure it would have been had that continued. The only thing that stopped it is it stopped. The sound just stopped. The arm pulled back in. Silence. And then we just kind of shook it off. We came down, we got everybody, drove down, found our other friend walking down the road. We left. Later, we found out more of the story and the reason why they stopped using the building for the Historical Society. And the earthen cellar basement, not only did they find some bodies of the children, of different children they didn't even know had died there. Like, is it had gone missing? Like, I'm talking like some of them 50, 60, 70 years ago, when this was the original schoolhouse back then. There was some kind of pattern of someone murdering children. So everybody immediately thought, okay, it's probably this janitor. No, it wasn't the janitor at all. We still don't know why the janitor went nuts. This was a separate thing where someone or a group of people were actually not just murdering children, but sacrificing them because all the evidence was uncovered when they dug just another 5 feet down in the sewer or in the earthen cellar to hit the pipes so they could figure out, I guess, fixing more shit. But they started uncovering jars of organs. They uncovered different circles that were carved on slate and buried down there, like giant, like 3 by 3 foot tiles, different symbols and different circles. And someone had been doing this for a long time. And what we realized through talking to more people, going back during the day, then getting permission to go in with the historical society, we saw evidence of summoning, like broken summoning circles and all kinds of things. The last thing we found, like the newest items we found in there, made it seem like someone before us had discovered all this, and they had done something to keep it there, to keep it from escaping. Every year, on the same day, to this day, since 1997, since I discovered this place and what it was, I go back. I go back there. I make sure it's still there, that it's still inside. That it turned out to be just one thing, that it could apparently separate itself into many, but it's one thing. I go back to make sure it's still there. 5 years ago, I went there and it wasn't inside. It was outside. It had somehow managed to exit the building, but it still could not leave the physical property, the bearers of the property. There's a lot of medallions and holy symbols and a lot of things like on all sides of the property that have been buried over the years. They've had a lot of different people have come out and done ceremonies here to ensure that there's these multiple barriers. And it had broken through every fucking one but the property line barrier. So again, I had to reassemble a small group of people. We went. We got it back inside the building, and the burying of new things, copious amounts of salt, broken glass. I'm not going to go super into the rituals and the things that were used, but we managed to coax/force this thing back into the building and put up new barriers, but about 1 million times more. Not actually 1 million, but like many more than there were before. And since then, it has remained back inside the building. But I remember that day 5 years ago when we went. We were turning off the side. It was during the evenings. That's happened when we happened to be there. But I would go back during some years during the day too. I didn't give a shit what time of day or night it was. But it stopped. And this time, it tracked our whole car as we drove by. It went from one property and just slow, step by step, with its head just turned towards the car and just marched back and forth. I got out of the car and I had the people with me drive. It did not follow them. It would only follow where I physically was. And now to this day, again, I still go back every year to make sure this thing is still in there, to say different prayers and to do different things to ensure that that doesn't break. But every year it knows me. Since 1997, this thing knows my face. It knows who I am. And now I'm one of the only human beings that it even shows up and interacts with. And kids still do this. They still go to the house. But it's not an urban legend anymore because after 97, it stopped following every single person that shows up. It just follows me every time I see it. I turn onto the street. I get where I'm just barely in viewing distance of the giant front top window. And I see it stand up and stare at me. It's that dense shadow just looking directly at me. And no matter what I do, it follows me until I'm out of sight again. But the thing is, for the next couple miles, it's like I can still feel it following me with its eyes. Like you just feel it. It's the only time in my life that I've ever felt like there was no hope. That I was staring into something. There was no mercy. There was hope. There wasn't even nothingness. There was just the understanding that if it ever truly got out and got to me, that it wasn't just the end of me, that it was the end of all things. That's the gravity of how this thing makes you feel. And every year for the rest of my life, the same day, June 22nd, I have to go back to this place. And not only that, I've had to tell a couple other people, so if something happens to me, then it's their job. When I die, that's someone else's job. I will never be able to rid this building of this thing. No one will rid this building, and the only thing we can do is just make sure it never leaves. The generations of people from now on June 23rd, someone that I will never meet, someone that I will never know and has never heard my name, will still be going to that house and seeing that same shadow. It's fucking tripping then to think about. Like, again, I'll be gone for decades, and here somebody will come in their car. We'll make that journey out in the woods after this old farmhouse, and they'll sit there, and they'll stare at it, and it'll stare at them. And that's the story.
Wow, bro. I'm slightly terrified right now because you got something big bad hooked onto you.
And I'll be singing.
Not that that's new, but this is a different level of.
There's a few of those things.
Some of the shit that hooks
There's
on
a
you.
few big ones like that, and I will be seeing that one in exactly 1 month and 16 days.
You'll have to give us an update.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, and Tia says hi. Hi, Tia.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, that's one of my big stories that I knew that I'd never told you before. So.
Yeah, I've never heard that one. That is fucking terrifying. Because Jeremy, you haven't been around for much of Raz's stuff, but these are all actually real things.
And in a number of my stories, we play a game where, what part of the story do you guys think is true? How much of it's true? How much of it's fake? Because I'm a writer. I'm obviously going to embellish things.
Well, yeah, embellish. I've always told my girlfriend, I'm like, any story that I'm telling about our lives, though it doesn't sound exactly like what the story's there. The main bones are there.
Yeah. With this story, I'm just going to cut the chase and tell you that the schoolhouse exists. It's very easy to get to. You could walk right up to it. Everybody can. The history is exactly true about the house. The bodies, the summoning circles, everything that was ever found there, all of it true. I legit do go there every single year on June 23rd. Just to make sure shit's not fucked up. And then 5 years ago, it was out of the home and out of the building and on just the outskirts of the property. The flayed arm part. An arm did come out the door, but it was not flayed like Hellraiser style. I'm adding little details to make it worse. My friend didn't piss himself; he just fucking booked it. We did pick him up on a country road a couple hours later, though. we did pick him up there. The cornfield thing, we still don't know what that is. That did happen. I was being yanked farther into the field, like little jerks. But our friend legit did get drugged partway through the cornfield, and we never figured out what did it. All we found was like dried husks attached to him. But I did not see a corn monster. In reality, I did not see a corn monster. That's bad.
Because you don't live in Nebraska.
No, I mean there's fucked up things here with cornfield.
Right.
Okay, I gotta know. I'm the idiot. Who is Greg Howard? You're laughing at me, so tell me what it is.
I'm laughing in general about something completely unrelated. I think I know what they're talking with. Give me a second.
I'm a comic book dude, so if it's horror, I'm not Greg Howard.
Yeah. Why did that sound so familiar?
God, Howard, how long do you have before you have to get everything off your ceiling?
Oh, I probably should have done it yesterday. Today, I don't know if you can hear it. Hold on. Is there a noise that goes away?
Yeah.
I have my fan on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have the fan on today. I'm saying within the next week, it's going to be raining comic books in here. It's going to be pretty funny.
Okay.
Here we go. Greg Howard is the first person who taught me about not messing with ghosts or demons.
And don't fuck with shit.
That's always something smart. Yeah, we have them around like Ma's house, and I have some shit in my. I actually just had one of my neighbors died in the apartment building a couple of weeks ago, and he was like the big loud guy. And I'm not trying to disrespect him. Love Ron. He did his best to try to take care of everybody, but he was very loud. And so I'm waiting to have the apartment building like shaking with his energy, because we already have one. There was a girl who died of smoke inhalation during a fire in my bedroom way back before I moved in. And she was playing with the boy when they had kids next door. The first time that there were children living next to me, he had an imaginary friend that only showed up in his bedroom, which is wall to wall with mine, that was this little burnt girl. And so the girl who lived there looked it up and was like, oh yeah, somebody died in your apartment building and they're playing with my kid. I'm like, okay. Are they being mean to your kid? Well, no, but okay, then just, it's okay. as long as your kid's having fun, it's all good. If she starts doing something malicious, let us know. We'll come over and clean her out. But, if Ron wants to keep guarding the apartment building, I'm all good with it. And one more thing from Jenny. There's one house that gave my grandparents cigarette burns and scratches within 5 minutes of walking. Yeah. No, yeah, that's when you leave. That's not your job.
Yeah. I was going to say that Raz's story reminded me of this movie that I saw a few months ago, I believe. It's called Deadstream. I don't know if you've heard of that at all.
Fucking God. Like, that guy was annoying as shit, but I was really invested.
Oh, yeah.
I was invested in it.
Oh yeah. It starts off as just kind of like a found footage thing with slight comedy elements, but then turns into Evil Dead. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it really is brilliant, man.
Can you send me a link to that? After
it might
we're
still
done
be on
here.
Shudder.
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Okay, I don't have. Yeah, just send me the name.
Okay.
I'll find it in a special place. I'm sure.
So.
But yeah, that was one of 3 major instances in my life that taught me that as much as I thought I knew about the paranormal, as much as I'd studied, and as much as I'd done and gone through, that I didn't know jack shit about anything. And it was the first of the 3 experiences that humbled me that have eternal consequences. So yeah, don't fuck with shit. Don't think you know what you're doing unless you know, and always be willing to admit that you know nothing.
I feel like I need to tell my story about the house. I think I've told you this before, the one outside of Fremont that went through. This is one of Carrie's true stories of shit, wrong podcast, Delphine's true stories of
yeah, this is why I'm always just one person.
God damn it. I can't decide whether I'm me or whether I'm the crow that's inhabiting me, and we break out here and then because people call me different things, and we both get so confused inside we don't know where we're going.
Do you have the sudden urge to say nevermore?
Does that work? James, I think you might know this one too. So Jeremy, letting you know, when I was growing up, I had lived in there's this very small town called Hooper, Nebraska. I went to a high school that was in the country that had Hooper, Nickerson, Ewing, Winslow, and Rosedale kids that were all coming to the same school that was on a rural route. And I think we had like 63 people in our graduating class, something like that.
I've had 52.
So we might have even had less than that. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was a very small community, and I lived out on an acreage. But anyway, there was this big town called Fremont that has like 35,000 people or something in it. I'm not exactly sure, but it had like a college in it, and it had like Walmart and things like that. So it was like, ooh, this is a big town.
And 2 Burger Kings. Yay!
Oh, there's only one when I went there. And that was the one that everybody from our school got banned from going to Burger King because some jackass on a busy night lifted up the table and all of the ketchup and mustard and napkin dispenser and salt and pepper and loaded it into the back of one of their trucks and took off. And all they knew was that it was Logan View students who did it. So if you were repping Logan View wearing your school jacket, you weren't allowed into the Burger King anymore because we were badass vandals who stole tables from Burger King. This is Nebraska for you.
It doesn't get more New England than my town. We have 5 Dunkin' Donuts. So, for real, 5 of them. And it's a little town.
So you're in heaven, right?
For me, yeah. I really like Dunkin' Donuts.
I'm with you there.
We do have 3 Starbucks as well, so we don't discriminate. But we got 5 Dunkins.
Do you have a Scooters?
I have no idea what the hell that is.
Maybe it's a Midwest.
I mean,
Raz, do you have scooters?
we have scooters, like the scooters that you can connect an app to and rent and like ride around town.
No. There's a coffee shop called Scooters that apparently has mold growing on their ice, according to everybody that I talked or that posts on Facebook or not Facebook on Reddit. They're like, yeah, if you go in, they never clean their ice machines, so they have moldy ice. So it's like
moldy ice.
How do you even do that?
I don't think anybody cleans their ice machines.
I do. Well, I used to when I worked at places. Yeah, I even knew.
Often, yeah.
I even knew how to fix the ice machines because, like, when I was working at the place where I'm gonna squirrel here real quick, a lot. I was on Tom's show the other night, by the way, Tom Dog Real Pro.
Oh, no kidding! How was that?
Yeah. It was fun. It was he and I doing the May the 4th be with you kind of show. And due to the epilepsy reactions to a lot of the lightsaber battles and things like that, he was like, I was the Padawan. I was learning things. But he asked about my first experience with Star Wars. And my first experience at Star Wars was seeing it in the Stewart Theater here in Lincoln, even though we lived like 60, 70 miles away. Does that sound about right, James?
Yeah. Give or take.
Okay. And but we came here because they had balcony seats. And so it was like I was like 7 years old when it was out, but we got to like sit in the balcony seats of the Stewart, and it was all orange carpeting everywhere and stuff. And then when I grew up and we moved to Lincoln, or I moved to Lincoln, and the rest of my family also.
Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Jedi was.
I was like, we're around the same age. I didn't get to see the first two in the theater.
Yeah, I don't remember when I saw those, but my first memory of Star Wars was Return of the Jedi at 7 years old in the theater.
I got into the theater for free by busting my eye open. Good time.
Good for you.
Yeah, I got the whole family in. It was great time. We got concessions, everything. Nobody was smart enough to be like, hey, we might want to do a lawsuit. We're like, we got a free movie? Yeah.
That was all before tort reform. You know, you could have gotten everything.
Oh my God. It was all because of my cousin, though. She stepped on my shoelace as we were walking in, and I busted my eye open. It was pretty good.
Well, I mean, like, sorry for you, but good job on your cousin for getting the whole family in to see
Return of the Jedi. Like, sweet. I was happy about it.
Yeah, so I saw that.
Grudges.
I saw that movie there, and then years later, when I was working here in Lincoln at a place called Crane River that was a local brew pub, this group of folks that were exceptionally rich folks who bought venues around town, and they were all a bunch of fucking cokeheads and shit. And I'm okay with that because I literally had to go to my boss at times and be like, "Good morning, need to fix something there. Hey," and when they tore down all of the stuff around the Stewart, they found in the basement like these glorious crystal chandeliers, and like all of the backdrop shit that they had covered in carpet was marble work. And these guys have been there. That's where we went and saw Rollins at. But like I had some people that I used to give tours of the place off and on. I was a waitress, head bartender, and secretary and tour guide there. Oh, and I also worked the ticket booth every now and then for shows. But like this guy from Italy who had shown up to work on the marble for a church, a place like 50 miles north of town, was like, I really want to see the place. Can you take me through it? And I'm like, yeah, let's go through it. And he rated it on his top 10 places that he'd ever seen of the best marble work done. And I mean, he like that was his job, was to hang out in Italy and do marble. So I have no idea what this has to do with my storytelling, but
you warned us. So
yeah, I'm swirling off. So anyway, back in the day, I went to Fremont and we didn't have any of this stuff, but Fremont was like 25,000. I'm still in Lincoln, which is very small. And I think that's what I was going to try to go with, was that like, even though it's like the second or third, depending on if we have a game day going on, biggest city in Nebraska, I was going to this little small town. And there was this place outside of Fremont called the Yellow House. And the whole story behind the yellow house was that, well, if you knew it, there were a lot of people who, it was an abandoned yellow farmhouse, and they would go there there were like a couple mattresses thrown around inside, and they just go out there to get drunk and get fucked up and maybe do some fucking. And that was their thing. And I got taken out there by one of my friends who was like, he'd been out there partying before, but when we got there, I walked into the house and there was this like immediate draw. Like I was just grabbed and I had to like walk into we walk in and there's like a kitchen here, a door right in front of me, and then a sideways path. And I took the sideways path, walked past, and there's this really nice big living room, hardwood floors and stuff sitting there. And then a flight of stairs that went up to the top. And I was just like, okay, cell living room. Oh, gotta go upstairs. So I went upstairs, and there are 3 rooms on this side of the hall, and then one at the very end, and then like a long rail that looked over that you could see down to the living room in. And we were walking through them, and it was like, open the door. Okay, that's where they fuck, because there's a bed and a bunch of beer bottles lying around. Okay, that's where they just hang out, because there's a bunch of beer bottles and cigarette butts everywhere. And that's where this. And when I went to open the last door, instead, I got sucked into the end of the hallway, and there was this just like, I had to look straight up, and it was black, and then something dropped at me, and it was shrieking, and it was like this desiccated corpse with a rope around its neck just falling straight down and trying to hit me. And I jumped back. So I was like, what the fuck? You know, and I never ended up opening that last door. But I turned around, and my friend didn't see anything wrong with what was going on and was just following me. But I started running down the hallway, and I'm like slipping. And as I'm going down the stairs, there is fucking blood running down everywhere that I'm at. And I get down, I'm holding onto the railway, and I look out, and in the living room, there is fucking blood splattered everywhere that there wasn't before, because I'd just gone up it. And it wasn't like glowing or anything. It was just like, there is fucking blood here. And I ran out, and he followed me, and we got out to the car, and then it was a farm. So there's corn cribs and stuff. They were all empty because they'd been abandoned a long time ago. And something just starts shoving at us, like if you could actually see what was happening in the initial Evil Dead movies with the zooming at you type of camera thing, but you could actually see this white thing just fucking zooming at you from the corn cribs. And I fucking floored it, and I made it all the way out of town, past town, around, and was heading towards this I was heading towards Columbus to try to get out. And I finally calmed down like 45 minutes later, and the guy I was with had no idea what was going on. He had never had an issue with this place before. He'd always just gone with his buddies to drink with it. And I started bringing it up to my friends, and he's like, stop. Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? And like we're going through, I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, here's the deal. Back in the day, that kid, there was a guy who lived there. He was a teenager, and it was pretty much the Amityville story. Like, he had killed himself after killing his entire family. Like, he blew everybody up with shotguns, and then went out to the corn crib, climbed up to the top, and hung himself. And apparently, according to my friend anyway, who had gone there frequently, when the police came through and did everything, they like cut off the rope that he'd been hanging himself from, but left the rest of it hanging there. And so they had taken the time to like climb up, grab the rope, and they took it up to what would have been his bedroom, which was the room that I didn't get to open the door for, and put it in there and started just like basically fucking around, doing some weird stuff at the house. But that place, they finally burned it to the ground because nobody would buy it and nobody would go there. I ran some friends out to there once in a while because they wanted to see the site, but like nothing happened after they finally burned it down. But there was so much activity going on there beforehand that it was just so that's one of my true ghost stories that has happened and I've had to deal with. And I'm still terrified of that fucking place because even though things have burned down, I was like, I had a connection to this beforehand. So I still have, like, you know, the house might have burned down, but the corn cribs are still standing, and I already made contact, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
Oh. So that's my story about that place, which isn't about shoes, but I do have another story about shoes. Akia is on real quick. So you hear that? Okay, good. She caught up. That's what's going on. Akia. And that's nothing. Hello to say. It's okay. You're good. Love you, hun.
Love you.
You've been having a rough time at work.
Gotta make the bucks.
Yeah.
So I believe it's my turn now.
I believe it is your turn now, sir.
Is that what we're saying? A little bit of a side tangent. I remember exactly when I knew I would love to be a writer and tell stories. I was in 5th grade, and I was there was a sleepover at a friend's place at his farmhouse. It was just all of us in the upper room, all the guys from the upper room, and by upper room I mean when you go to a school, a grade school in the rural setting, the building usually has 2 rooms, one for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then the other one for 4th, 5th, and 6th. I was in the upper room. We got there, and one of the things that we did was we built a fire. It was late September, kind of edging into October, so it was the right time of the year. But we built after the sun went down, we built a campfire. We were doing hot dogs and everything. Then we all started telling ghost stories. This is the first time I've ever experienced anything like this. I didn't really share because I didn't really know anything offhand, but just listening to it and letting my imagination run wild is fantastic. I realized that telling stories like this, there's a power in it. You can weave something out of nothing and hold many people almost spellbound like that. There's an alchemy to it. That was just a brief aside. I've always been I've been reading since I can remember. I believe one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was for doing what I do is read a lot and then write a lot. Makes sense, right? If you're going to write, you got to know how to read. And that's what I do. Every day I write something, either if it's just for like a review on a blog or some of the stories that I'm writing. And I've been pretty much doing it since the mid-90s. So that's when I started kind of getting a little bit serious, keeping a journal, that kind of thing. This next story that I'm going to tell us is it's just bits and pieces. I'm still constructing it. Raz and I earlier were, what did you call it? A stream of conscious with something or other?
It was like a stream of consciousness with main point beats.
Okay. See, normally what I do is sometimes with the stories that I lay awake and I imagine certain scenarios in my head and what the conversations are going to be and yada, yada, yada. I went over this the last time, but then I write down the little bits, and then, you know, there could be like 3 sections, and I'm thinking, what goes here to interconnect everything? This one is titled What Hurts the Most, and another thing about it is it's one of the stories that I'm writing to kind of, let's just say it's kind of a therapy story. I'm writing it to make sense and wrap my head around these complicated feelings I have for someone. It started off like that, but then kind of turned into a story within the same universe as the television show Supernatural. So it's in that universe. None of the characters from the TV show up. It's just in this kind of universe where demons are real and then the hunters are real as well. So I'm going to start reading here. Good morning, he whispered, kissing her softly on the forehead. She stirred a little, but remained asleep. He stood over her for another minute, taking in the serene look of her sleeping, committing this moment to memory. A tear began to well up in his eye. Have a good day, my love, he said as he pulled away, a pang of sorrow beginning to tug at his chest. He turned away silently and walked out of their bedroom forever. He had been replaying that scene in his head since getting in his pickup and leaving her that morning. That had been at 6:09 a.m. Now the sun was edging closer to the horizon in the west in the early September evening sky. Have a good day, he said out loud in the empty cab. He gave a bitter laugh. How lame is that for a final goodbye, he thought, gripping the steering wheel tighter, the road in front of him stretching on forever. It was tradition, his brain countered. You always said that to her before leaving for the day. Blame it on force of habit if you must, but at least you were able to leave. He sighed. He had lost count of how many times he had that little discussion with himself during the trip. Always the same outcome, always the same resignation to his fate. He had already played out every single possible outcome from every single possible way that he had tried to get out of this situation, but it always boiled down to him losing her in the end. This way may seem like the coward's way of doing it, but it was the best way to spare her the least amount of pain in the end. That's what he kept telling himself, at least. He had been traveling west, mostly on Interstate 80, stopping only for gas and food, though he didn't really have much of an appetite. His journey would take him through Omaha, Nebraska, where he would change to a different road, one that led a little bit out of the way from normal civilization, one that took him all to where this began 10 years prior. So far, he was making good time, right on schedule. Then I have a bracket here that says stuff goes here, so I'm still working on that portion. Carrie's laughing because she read this and kind of saw what I did there. He arrived at his destination a little before 11 p.m. Rusty's, very out-of-the-way roadhouse-style bar and grill, situated half an hour west of Omaha. Located in the very definition of the middle of nowhere, miles from the nearest highway or any other signs of life. Despite this, the dusty parking lot was always filled with various pickup trucks, cars, and motorcycles. Strong word-of-mouth catering to a specific clientele. The place hasn't changed in 10 years, he thought, as he maneuvered his pickup next to a much larger black monstrosity sporting twin diesel exhausts and an impressive gun rack. He was counting on that. It was one of the two reasons why he spent the good part of the last decade restoring the 1983 GMC pickup he was driving, to blend in with the others in the lot. No one would look twice at it or get suspicious if it remained for an extended period of time before being reported as abandoned. The second most important reason was because it couldn't be traced like any of the modern vehicles on the road. He made sure that everything was as factory original as possible, from the engine rebuild down to the floor mats and upholstery. Of course, his wife thought his hobby was adorable and indulged him, going so far as purchasing an original factory AM/FM stereo with the big chrome knobs and the slot buttons for a hefty price off of eBay as a gift. No reason, she had said, just because. He had to pause for a couple of minutes to push down the sudden rise of emotion. Now was not the time. He took a deep breath, and he shut the pickup off. He had an hour. Might as well go inside and get settled in. He exited the pickup and, pausing long enough to glance at where the two gravel-covered dirt roads intersected beyond the parking lot, he turned and walked to the front entrance of Rusty's, the music from inside blaring a muffled serenade. More stuff goes here, the brackets. He felt the presence before the song was over. Without even opening his eyes, he knew someone was now sitting opposite of him. I really like how they kept the aesthetic of the place relatively unchanged over the years, a voice that had haunted his nightmare said. He opened his eyes and, sitting on the other booth, was someone he had never seen before. A young, slender man dressed in an expensive suit and smiling broadly, flashing a dazzling set of teeth. He had a smartphone in front of him. Hey, Ed, Robbie. So glad that you remembered to show up tonight. Robbie saw some heads turn and glance at them from around the bar. Well, so much for remaining inconspicuous, he thought. Is that really you? He asked. The guy chuckled. Of course it's me. There's no way I was going to miss this night. Besides, I've never missed an appointment for as long as I've been doing this. I recognize your voice, Robbie replied. You look different. Oh yeah, brand new skin suit. He looked himself over. One of the problems with you humans is that you tend to break down after extended usage. Mileage will vary, but the general time frames is maybe 2-3 years before the check engine light comes on. He looked back at Robbie and smiled again. Picked up this new hotness a month ago at one of those hip microbreweries. Still reeks of pretentiousness, but why are you here now? Robbie interrupted. It's still a while until midnight. The eyes looking at Robbie narrowed a bit. No need to be rude, he said. Yes, any other person. I would show up right at the age agreed upon time, right on the dot. Keeps things strictly professional. Then he pointed directly at Robbie. You, however. He leaned forward and rested his elbows on the table. What? Robbie couldn't help but feel a bit annoyed at this invasion of the last few minutes of his life as he knew it. He didn't say anything, just looked at Robbie thoughtfully for a couple more minutes. Finally, he lifted up his smartphone. Did you know, he said, that this place had one of those internet jukeboxes installed a few years ago? He began poking at the screen of the phone. Okay, Robbie answered. I have no idea what that has to do. They got rid of that big old CD jukebox that they had taken up at the back area by the dartboard. Now that they have the shiny, flashy touchscreen that has access to thousands of songs, so you're not limited to just a handful of CDs they're able to fit in the old setup. No longer are you restricted to whatever the general music taste of the local clientele is. Now, whatever your flavor, you can share it with everyone, whether they like it or not. They even have a smartphone app interface for it, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own booth. Here we go. He touched the area of the phone screen, and almost immediately Conway Twitty began crooning about running into a past love. Satisfied, he put his phone down, folded his hands, and looked directly at Robbie, a look of intense curiosity on his face. In the time that you had left, I want to understand something. Robbie shrugged. What's that? Why did you do it? Robbie blinked. Huh? Why did you make the deal with me? And that's where I left off. Hello?
Very
God
cool.
Damn it.
I'm a Supernatural fan, so like the early stuff, I didn't get all the way through the 15 or however many seasons they went.
The first 5 are wow, but
yeah, exactly.
That, yeah,
I would totally agree. The first 5 seasons were perfect, and then, well, you got what you got.
And I made Carrie swear profusely there, so I'm guessing I'm doing something right.
I want to know. God damn it. It's been years, and I'm still waiting to know.
Fine, I'll finish it. I kind of want to know, too. I have it mapped out, but as far as the specifics go, that still is up in the air.
I got to pull up some Frank. Frank's visiting us. Well. What do we have here, brothers? Yes, we're doing a horror show for you. He's making fun of my drinking. It's not my fault, though. That was a squirrel that was pouring Ratatosker. This Men in Black joke of the night, and hello, darling. Mr. Twitty is stuck in my head.
My work here is done, yes.
You have fucked with Frank. That is good. We all like to fuck with Frank. We can't have him on shows, though, because when we start laughing, he never stops. It's the entire... Seriously, Jeremy,
I'm new one because Frankers and Razzles is finally happening very soon as a show. So I think half of it is just going to be him and I cracking each other so hard that we cry for like 20 minutes, and then we take gasps between trying to talk for the next 20 minutes, and then we get it together for the next 5 minutes and talk again, and then that happens, and it's just a cycle.
Yeah, Frank does drive me to drink. It's a thing. He's all about it. But we've decided we're going to have. Oh,
and if you haven't seen my fancy pipe, I got a fancy pipe now. We're gonna name it by the end of the show.
Jeremy, can you do your miracle sideboard man thing and bring forth a Godzilla at the moment?
It's not Godzilla. It's Slothzilla.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, you guys.
But there would be something right there. I'm going to get you and Frank, aka Hexus, and Raz, and there was one other person. Who else do I want? It's from the Dorkening. There's somebody else from the Dorkening who's Super Godzilla.
Super Godzilla? I know the guy we're interviewing on Tuesday, Super Godzilla. He's written quite a bit of it. Eric Burnham.
Oh, Burnham's Godzilla as well as Ghostbusters and all that?
Oh, yeah.
Woo. Well, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to grab him.
It's actually kind of interesting. Random thought, because you brought up Godzilla and stuff. All the stuff he's allowed to do and not do with Godzilla, because I think the company's Toyo or something like that. He has to run everything by them before they allow him to actually print it in a comic. It's pretty intense work.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna learn a lot on Tuesday.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes. I love Godzilla, old school Godzilla movie.
Yeah. So I want to get though you and Frank, aka Hexus, and Raz over here, because he has a little bit of things to say about Godzilla, maybe one or two little mentions here or there.
I'm expert about nothing.
It's going to be like the Godzilla squirrel 4 hours or something like that.
There's somebody should do a podcast all about Godzilla, because there's got to be like 400 movies of.
We could make it a fucking series.
Godzilla themed friggin' movie. Yeah.
I am in.
And James, you also get to go in on the Frank discusses Metallica. These are the two things that we are not allowed to bring up whenever he's actually done a few podcasts on Godzilla. If you mention them when you're in a show with him, you're immediately like, okay, it is time to take off an hour and a half, because we're going to listen to Frank talk about Godzilla and or Metallica. It's just going to happen. We have no control over it. Doesn't Leo have a Godzilla that he walks across the screen sometimes, or is that somebody else?
He definitely. I think he has a giant one of the old school. I think it's a newer one, but I think it's supposed to replicate the old school one that shot off the hand and stuff like that.
He's got the better version because he's Leo Pond and he's awesome.
He replaces all of his old treasures. I'm so sad.
I get jealous. I'm like taking pictures. I screenshot his room so that I can then zoom in and be like, which games do you actually have upon your walls? And did I play them? And have you actually played them? Or do you
actually
just have
sent
them
him
on
an
your wall?
Atari. I hooked him up with an old school Atari because of all that stuff. A friend of mine refurbishes them and stuff. So I was just like, oh, cool.
That is fucking epic.
Oh, here, Frank. You're allowed to bring them up, but it's not my fault if I have to spend hours correcting the peasants.
The peasants. Yes, I'm one of the peasants. I retain no information. I rewrite history. It's horrible, but to be able to rewatch them, to have a reason to rewatch them, because nobody in my house is going to sit there through any old school Godzilla. Like the first hour and a half is just leading up to the monsters.
So are you like, honey, this is homework? I gotta do this for a show.
Exactly. I'll be like, look, I gotta watch these. You know, it hurts me as much as it hurts you all. I swear.
I remember talking to my friends at the time to go see the opening of Godzilla '98. Being all excited, we show up. You know, Blue Oyster Cult's song "Godzilla" is playing on the stereo. We're really, getting into that, and then afterwards, leaving the theater, apologizing profusely to these people.
Yeah.
Because holy cow, I'm like, that's not Godzilla, that's an Allosaurus.
Excuse me.
It was close.
It begins. Okay, like I need to jump out and Frank needs to hop in.
I'm
But
happy to see the newer stuff that they're producing for it.
Yeah.
I want to have like, okay, here's my thing with horror movies, like the franchises that have gone on too long, but you're still like guilty pleasure too long with them, you know? They all had like a, oh god damn it, Abbott and Costello episode, right? Like Frankenstein meets Abbott and Costello,
Right.
those kind of things. I want to take like, you could take just basically the old footage and replace it and put it into a new movie where they meet somebody else and just kind of like blur their lips a little bit with the stuff that we have now and make them say like, oh god, it's Godzilla.
Today you can probably
it's
wouldn't even
Jaws,
have to blur their lips.
Yeah, I think that like every movie now needs to have an Abbott and Costello remake of it. It would be fun.
Well,
Jenny says, we love Godzilla. Dante sleeps with Godzilla and Cthulhu. Good job, Dante. I love
that's
you.
going to be a weird looking baby. But no, every single long running horror series. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, but not sorry. But every single horror franchise that has gone on for maybe too long, it always the moment it jumps the shark is when they go into space. So
I love Jason in space. Oh my god.
Jason X was one of my favorites.
Nanobites. That was
yes.
Okay, the nanobites was the best.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying maybe we should wrap this up.
Hilariously bad.
Like Leprechaun in space.
I didn't see all the Leprechauns. I've seen a lot of them.
Leprechaun went to the hood twice.
Yep. I want to blow your mind for a second, like because back in the day, it was known that horror franchises go to space to die. Right? That's when their franchise would end. They'd go to space, and like that's it. Like Jason X. And there's a lot of good examples of this. But I'm going to blow your mind for a second because the original Critters series.
Oh, those are so cool.
Oh, I love
They're from space, right? The Krites are from space, the Bounty Hunters from space.
Yeah.
But the very last one in the original franchise.
Yeah, number 3 was
it even survived a child like oh my god, what's the name of the actor? Catch Me If You Can. He does Martin Scorsese stuff. Did that movie The Beach? Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, that guy.
So
there you go.
DiCaprio's first movie as a young ass kid was in part 3. But then in part 4, they go to space. Fucking franchise dies because they go to space. Yet all these fucking things came from space in the first place. How does that work?
That was some of the coolest stuff, like when they all formed together as a huge ball.
The Krite ball in part 2.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like,
we just got done shred the dude.
We just got done reading a shit ton of comics to not even talk about them on Splash Pages.
Oh yeah,
last week. Oh my god! But seriously, like I was.
I'm just like, sons of bitches. I did all that homework, and we're not going to talk about it. You fuckers.
Dude. Okay, but you got to keep asking questions. Like my questions.
It's not my fault. He talks a lot.
I know, and I said, okay, so the guest on Splash Pages, dun, dun, Jeremy.
Oh, Mark Ryan.
No,
it was Mark. Who?
What? Who's that guy that wrote?
Wasn't it Mark Ryan? Hold
oh
on,
my god, we're doing
over
this,
here on the side of me.
This is so bad.
This is how well I retain information.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, Mark Nelson. Mark Nelson.
Mark Nelson. Yeah.
Son of a bitch, Ryan. I don't know who that is. That's probably somebody that's coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, so Mark Nelson, the guy who drew all
Yeah,
the
that
art
did
for the Alien
Aliens.
series. Yeah, for Aliens. That was supremely awesome. And it was also like, okay, so you have the aliens, and it's like, okay, what are you doing setting them in space? You know, I mean, they're aliens, but
He
with you
also
talking
did.
about the critters going in space, Aliens is, yes, about aliens, but they're not on their home planet. They've
No.
been like scooped up and dropped onto an entirely new planet that does not have the same level of predators and stuff going on. So that's why they were able to make it out. So having critters actually cast in space isn't that far out of the globe of reality, because it gives them a
I enjoyed the
new.
Critter series. I think I need to
Oh, I
show
love
the kids
critters, dude. Can I like stream with you at some point? Be like, yeah. So Delphine's just gonna hang out in the background and be like, she likes critters because they're like growly little guys.
What we need is a continuation of the Night of the Creeps movie.
That's happening. They have
Really?
announced recently they're revisiting it, and at first they were talking about doing a remake of it, but so it's going to be like a soft reboot with still nods to the original. That's currently what they've been talking about.
Okay, well, all right.
Was that the rich guy inherits a mansion, brings his teenage college age friends out, and there's like, no, that was Ghoulies. Never mind. I'm sorry.
No, that's not even Ghoulies. That's Spookies. Actually, that's Spookies. Although they did something kind of similar in the first Ghoulies, it's still
Okay, I thought wasn't Ghoulies the one where he's looking out from the toilet seat though on the cover?
Yeah, on
for
the
one
cover.
of the posters.
Yeah,
that's Ghoulies.
And there was no toilet in that movie.
Ghoulies
God
did
damn it!
Advertising.
Yeah, went to college, and that's how that franchise ended.
Did you know that was the reason that Psycho got its rating?
Yes, actually.
it didn't have anything to do with the horror involved with it or the shower scene. It was because they showed a toilet flushing.
Yep.
And that was not allowed in film at that point.
So back then, you had a couple of franchises that were very similar to each other. Some of them weren't even franchises yet; they were just single movies that later became franchises. But you had Ghoulies, Spookies. Oh my god, I just had the other ones. Hobgoblins, which actually got a modern sequel just in the last year after nothing since the 80s, and Munchies. Those were the four like ones that all came about like in a similar time frame. And then the only one that actually had a lot of sequels was Ghoulies. And then now they're even talking about redoing it. So
wasn't Troll in there as well?
Troll,
I mean, it wasn't the exact same, but it
was. Oh wow, that's a whole different ball of wax.
It's
But here's the thing about Troll. That was the first appearance of Harry Potter. In fact, you can look it up. The main character in Troll was the boy whose name was Harry Potter, who later found out that he was a wizard through the course of the movie, and he was the one that was able to save everyone from what was going on with the help of the witch who showed him his inner power. That's the whole movie. And there's also a series of comics. Plus, there's a sequel, Troll 2, that we don't ever talk about because it's the worst movie ever made. There's a documentary with that title if you don't believe me. But
kind of like Exorcist 2.
Yeah. So
I've seen it.
It was an abortion that should
when
not
Harry
have
Potter got
been allowed
popular, this guy came out of the work and was like, dude, why are you ripping me off? Like, Harry Potter, he's a wizard, modern day world to some degree at times he has to deal with. Regular people, also a magic world, like side by side. Come on. And a lot of money was paid to this man. And that was the end of it. Never heard anything about it again.
No butterbeer.
Okay, so I'm going to prove my ignorance here. And Frank says, we actually need a movie studio ballsy enough to make a Richard Lehman novel into a movie. And I do not know who Richard Lehman is.
Richard Lehman is a very fantastic horror writer who is Frank's favorite horror writer. And actually, I'm quite a fan as well. If you've not read it, you should read it. Actually, Del, I think you would enjoy him. Not everything he's written I think you would like, but there's a number of titles that he and I can definitely suggest to you that I think you'd gel with, man.
Okay.
Has anybody here heard of the author Bentley Little?
That sounds really, really excellent. Let me look it up real quick.
He's a writer of. He's like if Stephen King decided to just keep things pulp and like here's a horror Here's a horror novel about a mailman. Ooh, boogie, boogie, boogie.
I know who this is.
Okay,
I
I
discovered
seriously
him in the 80s around the same time I discovered. I think it was him and Christopher Pike. I discovered on like the same day at my local my school library, and I got one of each of their books. And I'm trying to remember which one of his I read. I think I want. Oh my god, The Summoning. It's called The Summoning. I haven't read it in years. I don't even remember. I remember what the cover looks like, and I remember the gist, but I don't remember most of that book. But I remember The Summoning. But then I read was it Night School? Something about a school or a college, night school maybe.
Yeah.
And then
but he has an amazing ability to start off, pretty spooky, but then everything goes batshit insane.
I need to go back actually. I was just looking him up and saw that I had only actually read 2 of his books when I was a kid and never again. So that's going back on my TBR.
I have a list of the books that I've read that I've reviewed on one of my blogs, and the local Hastings store, which is kind of like a part bookstore, part CD shop, record shop, kind of like a multimedia type pop culture store, but their book section always had like a bunch of used Bentley Little novels that for like a couple of bucks. And I would just feast on those, read them in a couple of days. They're great.
I remember John Saul being that to me. It was like it would start out with a decent premise, but then like I finally discovered that John Saul was one single formula through every single book that he wrote. It was something really, really bad happened 100 years ago. And more than likely it involved a child. And then today somebody else new moves onto the property. They start digging through things, or they start going through the town. They start stirring up trouble wherever it had been. And then it attacks their children. And then you go, Elizabeth, Beth, and the book is over. And it's horrifying. But it's not after your like third John Saul novel. You're just like, okay, so the exact same angry ghost takes over this person again and plays out their murder again and again. And it was really terrible. But
you find a formula that works.
It worked for him. I mean, everybody bought his shit. But okay, so real quick, we're still on Campfire Night.
Yes.
Frank just showed up and fucking derailed everything. God damn it, Frank. Jeremy, do you have a story that you'd like to share? Anything like a fun story, a happy story, a sad story, a con story, I did this story, I did that story?
All right.
I'm not.
I'll try to tell my story. I hope it comes out good. I think I'll do the Pink Gorilla story.
Okay. Tell us the Pink Gorilla story.
The Pink Gorilla story. So a man is traveling through London. We'll just say this man's me, just for the sake of everything, so I can keep it simple. And I'm traveling through London. It's a foggy night on my moped, of all things, because I like to ride on a moped. It's very fun and, get a lot of distance on a tank of gas. But this night, my moped decided to not go very far and stall out on me. And I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's very dark, foggy. But off in the distance, I do get to see some lightage. So I start heading my way that way. And I find that it's a farmhouse that looks rather well manned, I guess you could say. So I go down to check it out and knock on the door, and the farmer opens the door, and he is a strapping man, probably of the age of 70, but you could tell you don't want to mess with him. He is a big dude. And I let him know, I'm like, hey, my moped up the way kind of shit the bed on me, and I need either a phone or a place to stay tonight so I can in the morning. He's like, I don't have a phone, son, but I do have a bed you can use, and we can eat some jam and crackers and, tell some tales by the fire. I say this sounds like a grand old time, and, while in Rome. So I join him inside. We have some jam and crackers and some wine that he himself produces out on the farm. And we go ahead and get ourselves liquored up and, tell the tales that we enjoy telling. And he then shows me off to a room later on in the night and says, "Why don't you sleep here, son? And we'll see you off in the morning. Get you back on your moped and get you on your way." So I go lie down. It's a beautiful bed, nice and comfy. So I drift off right away, kind of a little bit inebriated. And I'm awakened not but like maybe 20 minutes later to the man saying, "I need to show somebody something, and you're that somebody, so please come with me." And I was willing that night, just in the mood for it. So he brings me down to his kitchen, and we moved the kitchen table, and underneath's a little rug, and under the rug's a little trap door. And we go down into this kind of root cellar kind of thing, dirt floor, very dark, kind of dampish. And he's like, "Come with me, son. I've got some things to show you." And we get to the first door, and it's this wooden door, nothing big. Opens it up, unlocks it. We go through. Next door, it's a heavier steel door. He pulls that door on open, and we walk through another door, a much, much heavier door. He unlocks a few latches, gets it open, and then again, another steel, heavy, heavy steel door. But this one only has kind of a sliding where you can peep through kind of thing. And we go over, and he's like, "All right, I'm going to show you this, but you can't tell a soul." I'm sure, I want to know now. We've gone through all these doors. What's going on down here? And he's about to slide the latch open, and he turns to me. He's like, "Actually, you know what? I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry I brought you down here. Let's go back upstairs. I just can't do it right now." And I'm curious as all fuck, a little bit inebriated still, but it is his house, so I journey back to my room with him. And he once again says his goodnights, but I'm not going back to sleep. It's impossible now. I need to know. So I journey back down to the kitchen, move the kitchen table, move the rug, open the trap door, head on down to the first door. No problem opening it. Second door, a little heavier, but still, no problem. Third door, I'm having a bit of difficulty, but I open it enough to get through and slide my skinny ass through and in there. And I get to the door with the little sliding thing, and I walk up, and I'm ready to see what is this? What's behind our door? And I slide the latch open, and it's pitch black. A little bit of movement I can hear, but pitch black. And I'm just like, there's a few locks on it. I unlock those, pull it open, and now I hear the thing moving towards the door. And I still can't see anything, but I can hear shuffling. I notice this thing is huge, and I decide, nope, not my time to find out what's behind door number 4. And I turn around, back out of there, get the door closed enough, get through my next door, back out onto the road. I'm messing up this story. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit nervous. It's the first time doing this live. So we're through all the doors back into the kitchen, and I'm back out onto the road running for my life as this thing's following behind me. And it's coming, and I find my moped, jump on it, and miraculously it starts up again. And I start driving away, but this thing's catching up. I can see in my little mirrors something's coming. It's big, it's heavy, it's coming for me. Hold on. I keep driving. Now it's still foggy as all hell, and I don't know where I'm going. I'm on a dirt road, and poof, right off the side of a cliff. Luckily, of course, as in every story, I'm able to grab onto a nice little vine and hold myself up there and just be stranded as I hear this thing lumbering towards me, just coming over, and I'm praying. I'm just like, please, 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 let this all end right now. Let it all end. And as I see this thing lumber over the side, it's a pink gorilla, and it reaches down and it grabs me by.
Oh no.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. One moment, please.
I'm beginning to think that he did this deliberately.
That'd be epic if that was the end of the story. Like, seriously, I will applaud him.
Brilliant.
I'm really getting into the story. Like, he's being grabbed by this fucking pink monkey now. I want to know what the hell's going on, man.
I think I have a variation of the story myself.
Jeremy, I need you back.
I must know how it ends.
Does it end with the phrase? Does it end with the phrase "tag you're it"?
Oh damn! Okay. He popped off for a second. We'll get him back.
We'll get him back. We'll get him back, guys. That was going to be our. I think that's our last story for the night, wasn't it?
I have one more shoe story.
Oh yeah. We got one more.
One more shoe story.
All right.
Hexus would like us to know that Frank is a dick.
Okay.
We already knew that, Hexus.
Wait, is a dick or eats dicks?
A big, massive, throbbing dick.
Don't forget veiny.
Oh, hold on. I'm on here. Jeremy's computer is frozen now.
Oh no. Oh noes.
Tape story to be continued.
He hit his computer and did it again.
He kicked his computer again. Yeah.
Yes.
They don't like that, surprisingly.
They aren't that thrilled with it. Of all things.
My beast of a gaming VR video editing machine computer is officially with a shop. That means I may be broadcasting and writing and doing everything from not a laptop for the first time in like 2 years. I'm super excited about getting this computer back hopefully this week. I can have an actual monitor and an actual keyboard that doesn't stick every 5 seconds because it's an old laptop. So I'm super excited.
Awesome.
Well, over the rainbow.
Oh yeah, you're catching us at the towards like the very end there, Patty. You missed my fantastic drug story at the beginning. I'll relate it to you sometime.
Okay, so we're checking to see if we're gonna get Jeremy back.
Okay.
Oh, Patty's on. Like joining at the point I did was fortuitous. I did not get in the story. Oh, see, the rest of us.
There's a literal cliffhanger. Yeah.
Yeah, this was Jeremy's first time being with us on a storytelling night.
Yeah.
So it's like, da da da. Oh!
I'm pretty sure he's telling us the prequel to Planet of the Apes. The original prequel.
Okay, I'm trying to chat with him real quick. So if you hear angry Filipino typing, that's me.
Bring the thunder. But let me say the better voice. Bring the thunder. Yeah.
I gotta keep looking. Sorry. And welcome, Patty. We love to have you here.
Indeed.
It is nice to have you. I am sending some people your way, by the way. I've talked to a couple of people who are looking for publishers for poetry and the likes. And I hope that when I send them your way, that they are good. Otherwise, I will feel bad.
I forgot some of these buttons.
What?
I'm gonna press the random button. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Some of these buttons are oddly titled, or they're not titled at all. Like this one just says "din din."
That's weird.
I'm relabeling that to never touch it again. Then one final button, I still don't understand what it says. Combat, I think. No, yeah. So I assume there's going to be guns or something. Hold on. Okay. That was the last button that I never pressed before. So all right, we're good.
So for all of you listeners and readers and writers, Patty is awesome to get a hold of. She is the gal behind Faycore Publishing, and she's always looking for stuff, and we'll help you out because she's fucking amazing. Oh, we got Jeremy back. Okay.
Yay!
Jeremy.
Raz so fucking monkey. Damn computer.
Okay, so you had us laugh that you had just gone over the cliff.
So the pink gorilla reaches over the edge.
Yes.
And the pink gorilla reaches over the edge, taps me on the shoulder, and says, "Tag, you're it."
He called it. Yep.
Called it. Called it.
Ah.
And that
it's much better when my anxiety doesn't make me skip half the story.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fine, man. But if you want to go
Jeremy,
back to this, just remember this was the prequel to Planet of the Apes, ladies and gentlemen. So
I have two stories much like in that vein. My story involves an ivory ape, but the other one, yeah. But maybe next time. But it's getting late. And Carrie has one more shoe story.
I have one more shoe story. Okay, here's the deal, Jeremy. You weren't here last time, but I have the thing that I told with the shoe before. Like, I really, really, really built it up with like how much my friend and I were working
really
on the
hard.
thing.
Like there was a lot of run up.
Oh my god, I was going on and on and on about the shoe story, and then I pulled up the story that I was actually going to tell, and it was not the shoe story. And I was like, oh, sorry, lied. So I felt it necessary to read the shoe story this time, but it's so short that I was like, I wonder if I can find something else that I wrote. And then I found something else that did actually involve a shoe. So I'm like, okay, I will do two shoe stories this time. So this one, y'all, is my variation on Cinderella as a semi-noir detective story. So let me get this straight. You danced with a girl all night at a ball that the whole kingdom was invited to, and neither you nor anyone else there, including your palace guards, got so much as a name, where she was from, or what she does. You also, though it wasn't a masked ball, and you spent the entire evening just with her, cannot provide any description of her outside of her clothing. The only thing you have to go by is that when she ran away from you, she was in so much of a hurry that she lost one of her shoes, a shoe made of glass, and you didn't bother to get a list of who remained after she left to eliminate anyone in the kingdom. Is this correct? Detective Hans stared up from his notes at the prince. Yeah, I think that about covers it. But she used the one. I really need to find her. She was perfect. I must marry her, Prince Charming insisted. You must marry someone that you know nothing about other than her fashion sense. Hans wiped his hand over his face. You do realize there are probably hundreds of girls who will be able to fit themselves into this shoe. So your idea of going door to door simply won't work unless you're willing to settle for the first girl who can wear it, right? I think my granny might be a good fit. Well, I mean, I'm sure I'll know when I see her again in the shoe. We were meant to be. If you were meant to be, what color were her eyes? Was she a blonde, brunette, a redhead? Any clue as to how tall she was? For Grimm's sake, man. You had her in your arms for hours. What in the hell did you talk about? We didn't really talk much. We just danced and gazed into her eyes, all romantic like. The same eyes that you can't tell me the color of? Yeah. They're really pretty, though. She was the most beautiful girl at the ball. Yes, I got that part. Multiple times. So you help me find her? Pled the prince. Mum's in a bit of a tizzy that I lost her before I got her name. I'm getting lectured on my manners, and she's making me retake all of my etiquette lessons from when I was growing up again. Can't you just throw another ball and see if she shows up? Should be rather easy. There can't be too many girls showing up with one glass shoe after all. Then again, perhaps there was a reason why she was running away to begin with. Were you copping a feel or something? I don't want to help this girl get trapped into something she doesn't want. No! I mean, my hand may have slipped once or twice, but I was never really good at the fancier dances. I was just keeping my balance. Another waltz was about to start, and she looked up the clock and said, "Oh dear, look at the time. I really must be leaving." And then she just took off running into the night. As far as another ball goes, what if she just buys new shoes? If she bought new shoes, wouldn't you still be able to identify the most beautiful girl at the ball? Even if you can't recall a single feature for a sketch artist, there must have been something that would grab your attention. If not, you might find another pretty girl. Your standards don't seem too high, to be honest. Hans shook his head. Royalty. You didn't get paid enough for this. Well, I suppose Mom does love throwing a ball. I'm sure she'll show up. After all, she would get to spend the entire night with me again, and then her life as well. I can't imagine her not coming to a second one. Prince Charming slowly nodded to himself. Yes, I believe this is an excellent idea. And this time, I shall be sure to ask her name. Wonderful. Now head back to the palace like a good little prince and tell your mummy to get a cracking on new ball. I've got a couple of missing children to find, and frankly, they're more important than your love life. Hans shoved the prince out the door and opened the file on his desk about the children who had gone missing in the dark wood, a young brother and sister. He suspected foul play, but it was difficult to provide in these cases. He thought about sending the woodcutter, a vigilante in the area, a tip about them. He'd done a great job in the Red Riding Hood case. Hans pulled out a parchment and began penning a missive to him immediately. The end.
I love that one.
This is the first time I've heard it. Great.
So that was my other second silly shoe story.
Nice.
They just happened to fit in. So.
Oh yeah. We got started a lot of stories, man. Yeah, we had a good time tonight. We told some funny ones, some scary ones, some life drug-based experience. We had a lot going on today, and you finally got the shoe stories that you've been waiting patiently for after the insane buildup.
Things that go on your feet. Even if they aren't scary, they'll freak you out.
Yeah.
And note to self, finish the story so Carrie can understand what happens.
Yes, please. I would like to know the end. It was like you don't tell the end, and then Jeremy just drops off, right?
No, I'm out of here.
At the literal cliffhanger. You're like, and
I
then
know,
I'm for a line, and
I lost. I thought you did it to us on purpose. I was like, that motherfucker. That was the end of the goddamn story.
I was able to end it, though.
That was the joke.
I was able to finish it.
Well, thank you, sir.
It was a moment, man.
It's one of my dad joke things for my kids. Like, I can't even remember who first told me it when I was a kid, but like I've been telling it for years to my kids. And it's I don't know why I got so full of anxiety right there. It's just you three. I mean, it's everybody else in the chat and stuff too.
You can't see them. Fuck them. You can't see them. You can just.
I know, but like for some reason, next time I think I might just have it written down like you guys do. So it's like, bam, right there.
Wait, we're supposed to write shit down.
Oh well, f you, man.
Raz never writes anything down because he's just that fucking cool.
Yeah.
But
I think next time I'll tell you the tale of the purple frog. That's the story that nearly got me fired from my job.
Oh, I even took my meds tonight, and I'm still like,
okay. I had a friend.
I've been all over the place. I wrote an entire chapter for my thesis novel while I was telling you guys this story and talking to it and interacting with you this whole time for school.
Wow.
This whole time, that's what I was doing while I was talking. It was great. It was a day.
Yeah.
It's a rare day.
Oh.
You were saying, Carrie?
I completely forgot what I was saying, actually.
I'm sorry.
All right. Damn squirrel.
He's drunk. Actually, he's on the floor. Ratatosker is done for the night. I have some evidence. This is what he had before. It's gone.
Oh yeah.
He's just
Right.
doesn't take much to get a squirrel drunk, you know.
No,
and we are kind of drunken squirrels.
Tomorrow's gonna be surprise corn day for that squirrel.
It's gonna be what?
You don't know what surprise corn is?
Oh my god! I thought you said surprise porn, and I was like,
Yeah,
"What
so
the
did
fuck
I.
is happening in my living room?"
CORN, surprise corn.
Oh, surprise corn!
Get like super drunk or super high, and you
that's weird.
Corn you've forgotten because you were hired drunk that you ate ears of corn. So you go take a shit the next day, and there's just surprise corn.
Okay, so that was something that somebody told me about vomit. Like, no matter what you've eaten in the past week, you're gonna vomit, and there's gonna be corn in it.
At least one. Sometimes it's just one corn, but it's there.
Yeah, I don't know. Even people who don't eat corn.
All right, guys.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm going to have to call it tonight.
Oh, we're actually wrapping up
right
now. We're
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna be calling it night here real quick. So thank you everybody for coming and hanging out with us. We have stuff going on every Sunday night for the All Light podcast, various types of storytelling information, and we're gonna have one where we just hang out, squirrel out, have some fun, talk about some shit, and we're gonna include buddy chat in it still because I'm having some serious mental breakdowns these days, and I need to keep buddy chat around for me, but buddy chat by itself wasn't working so well with it just being a thing, so we're gonna add more to it and have more people show up. But I'm not gonna give myself any outing because everybody knows how to get a hold of me. Raz, how do you want people to get a hold of you? You got stuff okay, well, you have a new book coming out, so I thought you might want to.
Oh yeah, RazTSlasher.com. That's also getting updated again this week. Anything you ever wanted to know about me and things you don't want to know, you can find there. I mean, I've got social medias that are updated by the lovely Jenny. I've got the TikToks and the Twitters and the Facebooks and the you name it. It's up there, and you can find a lot of stuff. She does a great job reposting a lot of things I do. So check out all those social medias. Just look up Raz T Slasher. I'm the only one, I promise. And also RazTSlasher.com. And we'll be talking a lot more about the Riverside Chronicles, my big short story collection that takes place in the same universe. I write every fucking story, or every story I tell you guys all happens in the same town. So I'm excited about it. Comes out a little later this month, but again, as we get closer, I'll be talking to that a lot more, and we'll be doing a book giveaway on that one. So,
all right, James, tell everybody what's going on, how to get a hold of you.
Well, I have a lot of PT coming up here soon after I get my foot fitted. So I have had a lot of downtime in the past year, just kind of writing stuff, and you can find me on Facebook as James Case, and Twitter as James Case 2. My blog for the movies and beer is movies-and-beer.blogspot.com.
And Jeremy. How do we get a hold of you?
I'm Jeremy Courtney on Facebook. You can check out Comic Book Lovers Buy Sell Trade in Auction House and Buy Sell Trade with 20,000 other nerds and geeks over on Facebook. Let's see, I'm on Splash Pages every Tuesday night, which this Tuesday we have who on?
Eric Burnham.
Eric Burnham, yeah, the Ghostbusters fame and Transformers and Ninja Turtle and all sorts of stuff.
Nice.
Let's see, and yeah, we read a bunch of comic books and we hang out with the guest, and that's fun. And then on Wednesdays there's Midweek Geeks, where we just cover all the new stuff throughout the week of geek culture. And you can find all of that on Facebook or iTunes or any other place that you listen to podcasts. And I think that's it.
It's where fine podcasts are broadcast.
Oh, that's Brandon's light.
We can't steal it.
Yeah.
I still do, but it's Brandon's. I made a fucking t-shirt for the guy.
Ode to Brandon.
I do want to thank so seriously, like, James, Jeremy. Thank you guys for so much. You guys are two of my favorite people in the world right now, and getting a chance to bring you guys in and do this with you tonight. It was a lot of extra fun. So thank you so much, and just keep coming back. We're going to message you constantly. Just say yes.
I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
That's a great way to finish. All right. Good night, everybody. Take care.
Good night.
Love you.